During the current homestand, Citi Field has turned into Baxter's backyard. Mike Baxter from just up the road in Whitestone has owned the joint over the first 3 days of the homestand. A couple of game-winning hits. He's put the signature on the homestand. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Pittsburgh Pirates. Friday Night Baseball is presented by Time Warner Cable. And a pleasant good evening, everybody. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling joins me in just a moment as the Mets play Game 2 of their 4-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. On Tuesday night, Mike Baxter was the hero. Last night, Mike Baxter was the hero again. Baxter, who has really settled into a role as one of the great pinch hitters in Major League Baseball over his short time in the big leagues, delivered in the 10th inning on Tuesday night to give the Mets a 1-0 victory over the White Sox. Last night, almost a similar circumstance with a winning run at second base, this time in the bottom of the ninth. He drove home Marlon Byrd to give the Mets a 3-2 win. Last year, Baxter hit over 400 as a pinch hitter. He's now 5 for 9 as a pinch hitter this year. And, Ronnie, this is one of the hardest things for a hitter to do in baseball. And Baxter, who has very little Major League experience, has done it as well as anybody.
Well, you know what's amazing is when you have a young player, those are guys that want to play every day, certainly. But Baxter's a guy that's going to get a spot start and occasionally, of course, come off the bench. And he's been outstanding. Why? Terry Collins said just really his intelligence. He's one of those guys that has a feel for the game, really watches the game, follows the game, and then also makes sure that he is ready, manages along with Terry Collins to make sure he's out there.
Over their 52-year history, the Mets have been very fortunate. They've had some great pinch hitters. Rusty Staub leads the list of all-time Mets pinch hits, but Ed Kranepool was a great pinch hitter. Matt Franco was. Lenny Harris is the all-time pinch hit leader. He also broke the record as a Met.
Well, you know, Rusty Staub I played with, and the great thing about Rusty is that he would choke up on that bat. You could never get inside. And I saw him do something I've never seen anyone do before. Jeff Reardon was pitching for the Expos. He had a home run foul to win the game, to try to win the game. He came back in the batter's box. The next pitch hit over the right field wall to walk off for the Mets that night.
In fact, Rusty was on 7 consecutive pinch hits during his Mets career. On the mound tonight for the Mets is Sean Markham, still looking for his first win as a Met and really just looking to go deeper into a game to give his team a chance.
Well, he wants to go deeper in the game. He hasn't gone through 5 innings yet, especially after Dylan G just went 5 innings in yesterday's ball game. Wandy Rodriguez, on the other hand, has done extremely well against the Mets. The last 4 starts against them, he's only given up 6 runs in 27 innings, and he's won 3 of those 4.
So it's the Mets and Pirates. Mets have won 2 of 3 on the homestand, and each time it's been Mike Baxter delivering. What can he do for an encore tonight? Stay tuned. You might have to wait till the end. All the action on SNY. Comcast, the best value in sports. Call 1-800-TW-CABLE. By Acer, explore beyond limits. By Nissan, sign and drive today only during Nissan Sign and Drive event. Shop ChooseNissan.com. By McDonald's, enjoy a small McCafe Frap Shaker Smoothie for only $2.29. And by Bud Light, it's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. Meet the Wiggles at an exclusive Met meet and greet this Sunday at Citi Field when the Mets host the Pirates at 1:10. The Wiggles will also be performing 2 songs live prior to the game. Visit Mets.com/The Wiggles for details and tickets. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule presented by Ridgewood Savings Bank. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 and Sports Radio 101.9 FM WFAN. Day game tomorrow, that'll be on Pix 11. And then Sunday, Matt Harvey pitches on Mother's Day against the Pirates to close out the homestand. Then the Mets play 4 in St. Louis and 3 in Chicago on the upcoming road trip. Sean Markham making his way in, getting ready for his 3rd start for the Mets and looking for his first victory. It's Markham and the Mets against the Pirates. City Hall's watching. You come back as well. Special surgery. Here's the Hyundai starting lineup for Clint Hurdle's Pittsburgh Pirates. Have lost 4 of their last 5. A start tonight for Jordy Mercer at second base. Neil Walker still on the DL. They hope to have him back Sunday. For Michael McHenry, he of the big home run off Johan Santana. And the ageless Johnny McDonald, now in his 15th big league season, gets a start at shortstop for the Pirates.
Well, Gary, let me ask you a question. Do you go with Jaguar or Jaguar?
Depends whether you are English or American.
Well, I'm just trying to get away from the numbers because Sean has not got the numbers that he usually has. Lifetime 57 wins and 38 losses. 37 wins with Toronto, 20 wins with the Milwaukee Brewers, 0-2 so far with the Mets. see the Mets' Lexus defense. Lagares with that great catch off Andrew McCutchen last night to save the ball game. Turner in for Murphy at second base. He has been so scrappy and so good of late. And Anthony Recker citing a reprieve from the governor as he's in there catching.
Justin Turner starting at all 4 infield positions. Only one other player in the majors has done that, and that is Chris Valaika of the Marlins, who's currently on the disabled list for 6 weeks. But Turner has been hitting, and so Terry Collins trying to find a way to get him into the lineup as much as possible. What'll be interesting tomorrow will be to see whether he might get a start in the outfield for the first time.
You know, and I kind of, it was a throwaway line there when I said about Turner being scrappy, but, you know, you like watching him play. You know, he's the kind of guy that seems to do all the little things to help a team win.
Coach's son.
There you go.
Well, there are the Mets' 2 sparks off the bench, Valdespin and Baxter. Dylan G tweeted another thriller. Great team win. Baxter, clutch. That's your Toyota tweet of the game. He's got 8.5 innings to relax.
I'm just happy when it's not Jay's tweet.
Yes. I think Jay is ready to back off the Twitter just a tad. Starting Marte will lead off for the Pirates. Marte's forte has been getting on base to open games. He was struck out to start the game by Dylan G last night. That was a good sign for Dylan, who wound up pitching well for 5+ innings. But Marte is 17 for 28 in the first inning this year. And Markham starts him off with a fastball away, 0-1. Marte at .321 for the year, 8th in the National League. He's 4th in the league in runs scored. He gets hit by pitches a lot, 7 times already this year, which is a lot for a 5th of a season. But hails before the National League leader Shin Soo Choo, who's already been hit 11 times in a 5th of a season. That's a lot of anger right there.
Right.
Jordy Mercer on deck. Andrew McCutchen behind him. The Pirates in a bit of an offensive lull right now. They're down to 9th in the National League in runs scored at 3.9 per game. Held to 2 runs last night, both driven in by Pedro Alvarez.
Marte trying to bunt that second pitch. He probably should have been doing that 22 hours ago.
Now, that wasn't his call.
No.
We talked about it last night during the 9th inning after the Pirates got the leadoff man on, as Markham threads the inside corner and gets Marte for the first out of the night.
Boy, what a great pitch this is. This is not a pitch we've seen Sean Markham able to throw. It's that inside cutter slider. Starts right at the hip of the right-handed hitter and bends over that inside corner.
Markham has a lot of weapons. He'll throw the fastball, the cutter, the slider, the curveball, the changeup, and he will use them all throughout the course of the game. Here's Jordy Mercer, who was called up last week with Neil Walker on the disabled list. He's been playing a lot of second base, and he takes a strike. Mercer, 3rd-round pick out of Oklahoma State in '08, and might be the future shortstop for the Pirates. Mercer appeared as a pinch hitter last night and went 0 for 1. Sealing, Oklahoma. I have no idea where that is. That's where Jordy Joe Mercer is from. It's not short for Jordan. It's Jordy.
It's spelled like that, S-E-I, huh?
Like Rod Sealing, the old Rangers defenseman. 5 pitches, 5 strikes for Markham, and he throws his first one out of the strike zone, 1-2. Andrew McCutchen waiting on deck. McCutchen made everybody hold their breath last night in the top of the 9th inning, when he was robbed by Juan Lagares. Swing and a miss, and Markham with a high fastball. It's back-to-back strikeouts to start the night.
A beautiful execution here. Asked for the fastball up in the strike zone by Recker. Hits the glove. As the scouting report, pretty good here for Markham and Recker.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Andrew McCutchen, 2 for 4 last night, and might have been a bigger night for him had it not been for the glove of Juan Lagares at the top of the center field fence. McCutchen 282 on the year. He takes a strike at the knee. So Markham has come out throwing strikes early. Sean has faced these Pirates quite a bit. Of course, he was in the National League Central with the Brewers, so this is his 7th career start against Pittsburgh. And he's done well against them. 2-2, 2.65 ERA. And he's especially done well against McCutchen, who's just 2 for 14 against him. I don't care who you are. You hold McCutchen to 2 for 14, you're doing something. Out to center field, similar spot for Lagares, but not quite as deep. This time in front of the wall, he makes the grab, and Markham has himself a 1-2-3 opening inning. Wandy Rodriguez heads to the mound to face the Mets when we come back. Wandy Rodriguez. Juan Lagares earned another start with a hit and a great catch, and there is the aforementioned Mr. Rodriguez.
Here's his Toyota numbers. His career record 87-90, a little deceptive because he has pitched for second division clubs. His best season in 09 struck out 193 batters.
He has always been impressive against the Mets, particularly when he faced them in Houston. He owned the Mets at Minute Maid Park. He's got 9 career starts against New York, 5-2, 2.88. Ruben Tejada, though, remember when they used to put out the live sports analyst, and at the bottom of each player they put loves to face and hates to face? Wandy Rodriguez is a loves to face for Ruben Tejada. Ruben is 5 for 7 against Wandy Rodriguez. And he hits the fastball down the right field side. Jose Tomino over near the sidewall. He makes a nice catch right before smacking the wall. And Tejada retired for the first out.
Well, it's difficult over here because you don't have a lot of room, and that kind of sidewall is very low. But nice job by Tomino staying with it.
Of course, it's angled down so that it parts the wall. You can hit that wall and flip over it.
Well, that's an interesting tattoo, isn't it? Rolling Stones fan, maybe.
Either that or you just met a friend right before the game. Here's Justin Turner. Justin has been red hot, has his average at 378 for the year, 1 for 2 last night. And he takes below the knees from Rodriguez, 1-0. Turner played first base last night, playing second base tonight, his 10th start of the year. And the way he is going, particularly against the lefties, they'll be playing until he cools off. The Mets have not had a whole lot of hot bats in their lineup.
Should we be surprised? 2 years ago, when he got lots of at bats, he was outstanding. Last year, really, what stopped him from having another year was he didn't get a lot of at bats. Sat on the bench.
2 years ago, Turner had over 400 at bats because he was the primary second baseman for most of the year. If you look at his lefty-righty split. Last year he had under 200 at-bats. It was a very different kind of season for Justin.
I think David hurt his back too for that season for a while. He was playing some third base also.
Two and two to Turner with David Wright on deck. Pretty simple for Wandy Rodriguez. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Doesn't walk people. Give up home run balls. There's the curveball, and he gets the comebacker. And Wandy throws out Turner for the second out.
The Coors Light Pirates defense. McCutcheon had an outfield assist in the last night game, threw out Turner at second base. Alvarez, McDonald, the veteran, Mercer, and Jones, and Michael McHenry behind the plate. McDonald at shortstop usually gives you one of those top 10 plays every game.
That's how he's lasted in the big leagues for 15 years. Here's David Wright, 1 for 3 last night. He continues his terrific first 6 weeks of the season. David 5th in the National League in on-base percentage, slugging percentage over .540. And he knocks himself down with a foul ball.
Well, he fouled that high off his leg. Usually you have that protective gear in the front there, protect anything off his foot or shin. That one he hit off the inside of his knee.
That stings. No protection there. And Ray Ramirez, the trainer, is going to come out to make sure David's okay.
This is one of those suck it up moments because it is so painful, but you don't want anyone to know how painful it is. I'm all right.
That's what he said when he played for a month with a broken back.
That's right.
Tim Teufel's away. His daughter Kelly's graduating from Liberty University, so he's at graduation. So Tom Goodwin is coaching at third tonight, and Bob Guerin comes off the bench to coach at first. Congratulations to the Teufels. Wright hits one in the air to shallow right field. On comes Tabata on the move, and the second baseman Mercer goes out to make the over-the-shoulder catch. Handled that with aplomb. A tough play. 1-2-3 for Wandy Rodriguez. No score after 1. Wasn't this a gorgeous day in New York?
Oh, perfect.
Wouldn't know that there was rain coming.
No.
Of course, it's banner day tomorrow, and there's a chance of showers throughout the day. I am told that even if it's raining a little bit, as long as it's not too hard and there's no lightning, they will hold Banner Day as scheduled. Registration starts at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Now, this will be my first one in a long time, and I know not of this kind of Banner Day. I'm used to the one that was in between double headers.
I'll tell you what, they brought it back last year, and it was very impressive.
Great.
The number of banners that were presented and the quality as well. Garrett Jones leads off the second against Sean Market. Jones 1 for 4 last night. And the big left-hand hitter takes the strike. Jones has good numbers against Markham, 4 for 10 with a home run. Jones, then Jose Tabata and Pedro Alvarez for the Pirates in the second. Gets it in on his hands, and Jones fouls it down the left side. And right to the ball boy.
Nice.
Didn't have to reach, didn't have to stretch. Perfect.
It's good defensive positioning. We have that on the chart too.
And he's got the Juan Pierre look going. Got the hat under the helmet.
Tom Goodwin had just moved him to that spot right before the ball was delivered.
You got to pitch to the ball boy positioning. You see those numbers for Jones against Markham. But Sean has come out throwing strikes tonight. He's ahead on Garrett Jones 0-2.
You know, it's interesting now, Gary. Sorry, the first couple of innings, we've seen a lot of shaking by Markham. Terry Collins says he calls his own game, so it's up to Anthony Recker to catch up with the sequence of pitches that Markham wants to use.
And of course, Recker is only starting his 5th game of the year. He just hasn't played very much. He hasn't caught Markham much, and frankly hasn't caught many of these pitchers in game situations. Here's the 1-2 to Jones. And he lifts it toward the gap in left center, slicing away from Lagares. Diving, can't get it. Jones on his way to second as Duda picks it up. And Garrett Jones stops at second base with a leadoff double. Well, that ball kept working its way away from Juan Lagares, and he couldn't quite get it with the desperate dive.
Well, you know what happened is that he hit it good, but not on the screws, so that's why it had that spin on it that you said, Garrett. Just kept working away from Lagares. Good try. But Garrett Jones, like he usually does, a hit or a walk against Sean Markham.
8th double of the year for Jones. He's the first base runner of the night. And now Jose Tabata, who came off the bench last night and had a couple of hits. Leadoff singles in the 7th and 9th, but the Pirates could never get him around. And playing right field in place of Travis Snyder tonight. Snyder's been out there every time the Pirates have faced a lefty, a right-hander this year, but not tonight. Tabata, who lost his starting left field job with the emergence of Starling Marte, takes inside from Markham, ball 1. See, the Pirates have really struggled to drive in runs. 0 for 7 last night with runners in scoring position, and right near the bottom of the league for the season. That one smacked toward left center field, falling fast in for a base hit. Jones to third. He's being held up as the throw comes in from Duda and skips in toward the plate. That is very conservative base coaching by Nick Leyva to hold Jones at third, even with nobody out.
There was a strange combination there for Nick Leyva. You saw Duda put his glove up almost to fake like he was going to catch the ball. But the problem came for Jones is that he froze at the beginning, wasn't sure it was going to drop in, doesn't have a lot of speed, and I think Nick Leyva wasn't sure if he could get up to snuff fast enough to score on that. But like you said, very conservative call.
So the Pirates with a couple of hits to start the second. Runners at the corners and nobody out for Pedro Alvarez, who delivered both Pittsburgh runs last night with a sacrifice fly and a long home run over the bullpen in right center. The Washington Heights native and Horace Mann grad up to 182 on the year, just 146 with runners in scoring position. Alvarez, first pitch swinging, rips a base hit to bring in the game's first run. Jones is in. Tabata heading for third. The long throw by Bird to third, and Great throw by Marlon Byrd, and David Wright reaching to make the tag on Tabata. It's an RBI single for Alvarez, but what a throw by Byrd to get the first down.
Well, another base hit here by Alvarez, now 6 for his last 13 against the Mets here at Citi Field. Likes home cooking, but nice one-hop throw by Marlon Byrd right on the money. David has to go past the line and reach back with a good tag to get Tabata. Excellent job on both ends by Byrd and Wright.
Well, we mentioned last night Tabata has been struggling with a bit of a hamstring problem that kept him out for a few days. Nonetheless, where that ball was hit, with Byrd having to go so far toward the line, he didn't think there was any chance he wouldn't be able to go first to third.
Problem was the line drive almost hit Tabata, so he had to freeze first before he went.
So that is an important first out for Sean Markham.
Watch Tabata. Line drive, freezes first, head down, and then decides to try to make up the distance. And Marlon Byrd said none of that. Makes like Frenchie.
Yeah. The last time we saw a mid-right fielder make a throw like that. There's Mike McHenry. The catcher takes a cutter outside for ball one.
One part about that at the end of that play, Gary, I don't know if you saw David moving very gingerly at third base.
Well, even after he made the last out in the last half inning, he had his hands on his knees, clearly in some discomfort after fouling that ball off his left knee. McHenry has 3 home runs this year in just 34 at bats. His Mets have already found out how dangerous he can be. And he grounds one just foul. Ball on a strike. Now 1 for 2.
He likes the ball in the air.
McHenry out of Middle Tennessee State, 28 years old, backing up Russell Martin, who apparently is going to be out a couple more days. His neck has come up stiff again. Martin had missed a couple of days earlier this week and said during batting practice tonight that it's bothering him again after he played last night. So we'll probably see McHenry tonight and tomorrow. And curveball knocked down by Recker. 2-1. Johnny McDonald, the number 8 hitter, waiting on deck. Pirates have taken a 1-0 lead. 3 straight hits off Markham to start the second inning, and all have been pretty well struck after Markham retired the side in order in the first. Alvarez at first, not a burner by any means. Very short lead. Markham's got a good move. And that's ripped foul. If you're a pitcher like Sean Markham, you have to do all the little things well. Hold runners, field your position.
Well, the ball's going to be put in play. I think the one thing I haven't seen from Sean when I've seen him at his best when he was with Milwaukee is that he would get a lot of first or second pitch outs, and that hasn't happened so far in his Mets career. A lot of long at bats.
And that's one of the reasons he hasn't been able to go deep into a game. Has not lasted 5 innings in a start yet. Of course, he also had the one relief outing in Miami in that 15-inning game, which kind of disrupted the beginning of his season after spending the first 3 weeks of the year on the disabled list.
Again, the miscommunication, the back and forth between Recker and Markham as they try to get on the same page.
You see his pitching lines from his first 2 starts. Ripped down the left field line, and that's foul. So McHenry's got some really good swings against Markham. Just a little bit out in front.
You know, when you're a kid and you don't have enough people to play in the playground baseball, you can just eliminate right field. You probably can do that with McHenry.
Like so many backup catchers, he's one of those guys who's just looking to hit the home run.
Bail and wail.
That's a guy a few years ago, Rod Barajas, who was just like that. He might have one now as well, John Buck. Again, the 2-2 from Markham, and he bounces the breaking ball. And it's a full count to McHenry. So it's not coming easily for Markham here in the second.
I was listening to John Buck describe Markham's pitching style. He said that he'll add and subtract on his fastball. He'll sink and cut it. He'll also change speeds on his breaking balls, curveball, and slider. And he'll change up on his changeup. So that's about 9 pitches right there.
Don't have enough fingers to call those. 3-2. Let's see if Alvarez is running. Markham checks in on him. But, you know, Ronnie, you talk about the miscommunication between Markham and Recker. Ultimately, in terms of establishing your rhythm and pitching in a game, how much of an impact does that have on you as a pitcher?
Well, you know, it has a huge impact, but there's a couple of things that you can do to expedite the process.
Alvarez holds McHenry. It's another loud foul.
What you can do, and I used to do this with Mackie Sasser, some other people that used to catch, though we just had a hard time kind of getting it going, is that I would start to call the pitches from the mound, Gary. And that's a dangerous thing because the other bench could figure it out. But, you know, Greg Maddux did that a lot. He would call pitches from the mound by the way he caught the ball on the way back from the catcher. You watch a tape with Greg Maddux, you'll figure out what I'm talking about. Painted fingernails of Recker.
Is that neon green tonight? Shot down the line. That one stays fair. Hits the jutting stands, and they say that it went out of play. It's a ground rule double for Michael McHenry, the 4th straight hit for the Pirates. And McHenry, after 4 bullets foul, finally got one inside the line.
Well, just by David having trouble really diving and moving for that. Up off the fan.
Oh,
beer gone.
Beer. Yep. Well, half the beer survived. Thank goodness for that. So now with the run already in, 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, and the number 8 hitter John McDonald steps in. McDonald just 2 for 26 to begin the year, with his 5th different major league team. Now 38 years old, grew up in Connecticut. Let's play the infield back up the middle, and McDonald takes the low and away for ball 1. So New York already down a run and willing to concede one on a ground ball here to stay out of the bigger inning. You got the pitcher Wandy Rodriguez waiting on deck. And McDonald nubs one that could squiggle, but it stays foul. And McDonald wisely running that ball out. You hit that ball with enough English up the line, sometimes it'll come back into fair territory.
And that's why Ike was waiting for it. Off the end of the bat, what will happen is the spin will start working down and start moving back into fair territory. But this one just stayed true. Gary, wiggle and squiggle is one broadcast you've had.
Slash. That play, a ball just like that, happened to the Mets in a World Series game in 2000. Ball hit by Jay Payton, and he didn't run, and he's out. Here's the 1-1. Inside, and McDonald's hit by the pitch. And now the bases are loaded. So the trouble just keeps deepening for Sean Markham. Somehow he's only given up 1 run in the inning, as 5 straight Pirates have reached base, thanks in large part to Marlon Byrd's great throw to get Tabata at third. But now Markham in a heap of trouble, even with the pitcher coming up, and Dan Warthen out to try and provide some counsel. See the numbers on Wandy this year. Lifetime 133 hitter, no homers, 20 RBIs.
Well, I don't know how much there is for you to say as a pitching coach talking to a veteran pitcher. We saw yesterday's game. Ray Searage came out and was talking primarily to Russell Martin, the catcher, but not here. Warthen trying to explain not only to his fielders the defense, but also to Markham as he shakes his head. You can see the frustration in the way that Markham is acting. And listen, I've been there. You got to shake it off and figure out some way to get the pitcher out, who you should own, and somehow get the number 1 hitter out if you don't get a ground ball double play.
Alvarez at third, McHenry at second, McDonald at first. So not much speed out there for the Pirates. Let's play maybe a little deeper in the outfield than they should be against Wandy Rodriguez, where a fly ball could score a run. And Markham pours one over the inside corner, 0-1. Five batters in the inning, 4 hits, and a hit by pitch. And Wandy fouls one back, 0-2. Now, what is it they tell pitchers here? If you think you're going to hit into a double play, just strike out.
Yeah, you got to hit it in the air or strike out. Yeah. you'd like to, hey, listen, one, he's a pretty good athlete up there, but you wouldn't mind Marte getting that bat in this situation.
Starling Marte, the on-deck batter. One and two now to Rodriguez. 20 pitches in the inning for Markham, and still only one out. He showed you his pitching lines from his first two starts. Failed to go 5 in either one. No Met has ever failed to go 5 innings in each of their first 3 starts as a Met. So that's the history that Markham's trying to work against tonight. Line drive off the pitcher's glove, a one-hopper, and no double play, and a run comes home. It deflected out to Turner. If he could have caught it in the air, the Mets would have had an easy double play, but the Mets settle for the 1-4-6 fielder's choice, and now the question is, how is Markham?
Well, 2 meetings in a row now to see if that caught him on the glove or on the hand. Looks like it caught him right off the left wrist and knocked the glove off his hand. Watch his left wrist. You can concentrate on that, folks at home. Right off there.
Well, the Pirates are hitting bullets against Sean Markham. He appears to be okay. Alvarez scored on the play to make it 2-0. And Pittsburgh has first and third and 2 out on the 1-4-6 fielder's choice. So Rodriguez gets his first RBI of the year. And now Starling Marte gets a turn at bat. Markham keeps looking down at that left hand, but convinced the trainer quickly that he was okay. So it has been an unsightly inning for Markham. 2 runs are in, but now a chance to get through it without any further damage if he can get Marte, whom he struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. And Marte chasing a slider out of the strike zone. 0-1.
Well, it looks like to me, in the early going, with all the numbers that Marte has, is that pitchers have been throwing him too many strikes. He is a guy that just wants to swing the bat. Very aggressive.
43 hits already this year. That's second in the National League. He's on a pace for right around 200 hits. First and third and 2 out. Another breaking ball. This one he wouldn't chase. 1-1.
You know, Gary, every start is interrelated, right? Last night's ball game, Dylan G went 5 innings. You had to use the bullpen, so you really wanted or need Markham to go as deep as he can in this ball game.
That's used 4 relievers in the game last night and 4 the night before. Once every 5 days, you got to go. Might go 9 though. That'll be Sunday. 3 breaking balls in a row. 2 balls and a strike to Marte. By the way, there had been some question whether John Neese was going to take his start tomorrow because he had a little upper back issue, but he's perfectly fine and will make that start. You can see the runs scored leaders brought to you by Tom Warner. Now it's 2-1 to Marte. Bounces that one foul. Just a little bit of this and a little bit of that for Markham.
You know what it is? It's when he looks at this inning down the line here, there's no setting up of pitches. When Markham's at his best, there's, you know, a fastball in here, surprising, back to the slider, something up in the strike zone, bounce a changeup. There's a lot of different kind of ways to go after a hitter. It's primarily been slider, 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 especially to the right-handed hitters.
Now he got Marte looking on an inside fastball his last time. Going to exclusively away this at bat. He stays away and gets the slow ground ball. Tejada has to hurry. Double clutches. Lost the play and a run comes home. Well, against the speed of Marte, Tejada only had 1 chance. But once he had to dig into his glove a second time, he lost the play, and it's 3-0.
Well, he knew that he was going to have to rush that play, and that probably resulted in him double clutching with this baseball, costing Markham the Mets a run.
So McHenry comes in with the 3rd run of the inning.
And I say that with, even if he had come up with it clean, I don't know if he would have had Marte. That's how fast he was going down that line, as Terry Collins is checking on the wrist, or left arm at least, of Sean Markham.
Ray Ramirez, the trainer, out there manipulating that left hand to see if Markham is okay. That's going to get some bullpen action working here. Markham has given up 5 hits in the inning now. 3 runs are in. And Jordy Mercer will be the 8th man up as Rob Carson gets up in the Mets bullpen. Mercer was struck out his first time up. The second inning has been a much different story for Markham. Garrett Jones with a double just beyond Lagares' reach. Tabata with a hard base hit. Alvarez singled in a run, but Tabata got thrown out of third. That's the only good thing that's happened for the Mets in this inning. McHenry ripped a double. McDonald hit by a pitch, and then a couple of ground balls producing 2 runs. Wandy Rodriguez, who hit the one off the wrist of Markham. They went for a fielder's choice. He's at second, and Marte, who had the infield hit at first. Andrew McCutchen would be next. Two out and 2 on. And Mercer takes it wide, a cutter. 1-1.
You know, Gary, watching Jordy Mercer reminds me a little bit of their pitching coach, Jay Bell, up there. You know, tall, kind of lean infielder with some pop.
Well, Jay once hit, what, 38 home runs in a season? 30th pitch of the inning for Markham, and smacked foul. Of course, earlier in his career, when Jay Bell played for Jim Leyland in Pittsburgh, Jimmy had him in the second spot of the batting order and bunted him like 40 times in 1 year.
Automatic. If the leadoff hitter got on in the first inning, he bunted him to second base.
And he went to Arizona. I guess enjoyed the atmosphere there and became a home run hitter. Later played for the Mets at the end of his career. 1-2 from Markham to Mercer, and Record goes down to block that one. 2-2. What a slog of an inning this has been for Sean Markham.
It was interesting, Gary. The outfield now has played shaded to right. Before they got the 2 strikes, they were playing Mercer to pull. So obviously with his 2-strike approach on the charts for Mercer is he likes to go the other way.
Choking up a little bit on the bat. 2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Mercer. Grounded toward the hole, and that sneaks through for a base hit. Wandy Rodriguez will be held at third, and the bases are loaded for McCutchen. The 6th hit of the inning for Pittsburgh. That one just found a hole. And now McCutchen will come up with a chance to break the game wide open.
Well, after I just said that with 2 strikes he likes to go the other way, turns it around on me. I'm the fool as he pulls this ball in the hole between short and third. Just well placed.
No fool, just a fastball in the middle of the plate. Tejada couldn't quite get there, but with the pitcher running, Nick Lamba wasn't going to try and send him. Not with McCutchen coming up next. So now with the bases full, McCutchen pops one up. Playable for Duda in left field. It's up there a mile high, and Duda has it to end the inning. But 9 Pirates came to bat. 3 runs on 6 hits. Mets down 3-0 in the second. Mets Pirates game at 1:10 p.m. Your game ticket Sunday includes a Mother's Day brunch, a Mets t-shirt, and Matt Harvey. Buy your tickets at Mets.com/momsbrunch. You don't get to take Matt home, but you get to watch him pitch.
That'd be quite a gift.
You may not be watching Sean Markham pitch much longer tonight. Got hit on the wrist during that last inning. Gave up 3 runs and 6 hits. And
well, Terry beelined over to him to see what's going on. And Markham, it looks like to me with his body language is, I'm fine. I'm going to go. And Terry walks off. No one throwing in the Mets bullpen, so.
Rob Carson was up during the top of the second after Markham got struck. So the Mets will try and fight back against Wandy Rodriguez, now fortified with a 3-0 lead. Lucas Duda will lead off. Duda sat last night against the lefty Jeff Locke, came off the bench and grounded out in a pinch hit at bat. Lucas homered the night before against Jake Peavy and the White Sox, his 7th home run of the year. And the Pirates put on the full infield shift against Lucas. Mentioned last night, we haven't seen a lot of this against Duda this year.
And not a lot with lefty against left-hander.
And he hits it out to left. And Starling Marte drifting back. 1 out.
I think what you have to tell yourself if you're the Mets, that inning was just so unusual. 6 hits, a hit by pitch. If it wasn't for Marlon Byrd's throw to nail Taba to third base, it's pretty hard to only score 3 runs with all of that offense. So you tell yourself, hey, we're only down 3. Let's get one here, get one there, and hold them from this point on.
Well, here is Bird. Made that fine throw from right field to third base. Bird has a couple of home runs in his career against Wandy Rodriguez, 7 for 28 overall. They were in the same division when Marlon played for the Cubs. And Wandy was with the Astros. A strike, 1-1. Bird's got a 5-game hitting streak going. He had gone through a bit of a lull, but has been swinging the bat better. Foul tips that changeup 1-2.
We talk so much about Mike Baxter and mentioned sometimes Jordani Valdez being his strength coming off the bench. Bird's done a nice job off the bench also.
The bench is well fortified.
Yeah, I hear you.
And Wandy Rodriguez finds the inside corner, and Bird is a strikeout victim. First of the night for Wandy, 2 out.
Well, just paint here by Wandy. Inside, knees, corner. Can't make much of a better pitch than that.
When you build the ball club, you usually build it from the top down, right? Not the bottom up.
That's right.
Here's Ike Davis, and there have been some positive signs for Ike the last 2 nights. The leadoff walk that he drew and scored the winning run in the 10th inning on Tuesday night. The double he hit coming off the bench last night pops this one foul. And even in between the fly ball he hit to the center field fence that Dwayne Wise made that great play on Wednesday night. So he's had some better at bats on this homestand. But this is a lefty who has puzzled him. He's 0 for 7 against Wandy Rodriguez. Wandy picked up by the Pirates in a deadline deal last year from the Astros. 3 minor leaguers went in the other direction, and one of them, Robbie Grossman, has made it to the big leagues now with Houston. He's off to a slow start, but getting an opportunity to play for the very, very young Astros. Anthony Recker would be next.
Houston Astros with the most persuasive manager in baseball.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
We'll fully get into that subject. Well, Cole Porter and Fielding Colbreth and the rule book. 1-2 coming to Davis, and Ike rips one down the right field line, but it goes foul.
Well, he got a fastball to hit. He almost found the foul ball.
Trying to go away with that cutter, leaves it right in the middle of the plate. Seems to me you'll see Ike here. He'll be asking for time as he tries to get comfortable. Well, he didn't ask for time this time, but it looks like he's a little closer and more upright.
Curveball, and that just missed. Wandy was heading toward the dugout. He thought he was going to get that call.
That definitely catches part of the plate. I think he calls it for high.
Now it's 2-2 to Ike. Another curveball. This one misses. By the way, next inning, Professor Kevin Burkhardt will be leading us in Sabermetrics 101. A little introduction to Sabermetrics for those of you who are just catching up with the new statistical era. And Ike takes one the other way where nobody's playing. And he's got himself a 2-out hit. So with the Pirates against both Duda and Davis playing a full over shift, Ike finds the open space.
Well, that's why I don't like the big shift with left-hander against a left-handed pitcher, because it takes away that outside fastball for Rodriguez. Anytime you throw it out there, easy for that left-handed hitter to drive it that way.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner, and now Recker, whose only hit of the season came back on April the 7th against Miami. So it's been 33 days since his lone hit. It's been very tough for Anthony. He's had to sit virtually every day. This is only his 5th start coming in the Mets' 32nd game, as John Buck has been an Iron Man early in the season. But Buck's bat has slowed, and with the Mets playing a night game tonight, a day game tomorrow, Recker getting the start tonight. Funny thing was, Anthony Recker has 1 home run in his major league career, and it came against last night's starting pitcher Jeff Lott, and he couldn't even get up in the lineup then.
And you know who has a home run against Wandy Rodriguez, who catches for the Mets? John Buck. So almost backwards. But he said, Terry Collins mentioned that he really wanted John Buck to catch Jonathan Neese tomorrow. There's Jeff Lott.
1-2 now to Recker.
Did a nice job in last night's game.
6 innings, 1 run, 3 hits. Held the Mets at bay, wound up with a no decision. He's allowed 1 run in his last 3 road starts. It's pretty good. Davis at first and 2 down. Rodriguez ahead 1-2, and Recker takes the curveball low and in. 2-2. Lagares would be next. 29-year-old Anthony Recker. Big league time with Oakland and the Cubs. Breaks his back, bloops one into shallow center for a base hit. Davis pulls in at second. So Recker has his first hit since April the 7th. His second as a Met. Lost a bat, gained a hit.
Well, the reason he got this hit was that the pitch prior was a good curveball that he laid off. And then he got this fastball here, and like you said, he broke his back, Gary, but taking that curveball, the prior pitch, allowed him to get that base hit.
So 2 out and 2 on. A couple of 2-out hits by the 6 and 7 hitters, leaving it for Juan Lagares, who's looking for his first big league RBI. Lagares 1 for 3 in the game last night, and it was the perfect storm, right? Because he made the catch in the top of the 9th that kept the game tied, and then Mike Baxter batted for him in the bottom of the 9th and got the game-winning hit. That's teamwork.
Teamwork, and shaking up the lineup as Ray Searage comes out to talk to his veteran pitcher. Andrew Baum played a big role. He had a hit, a walk, a sacrifice, scored a run.
That sacrifice bunt by Brown in the 9th set up the winning run. Ray Searage, a one-time Met, getting some chuckles from Johnny McDonald.
This is all a conversation reiterating how they're going to approach Lagares, because he's the 8th place hitter. Now, you certainly don't want the bases loaded with the pitcher coming up, but just want to reiterate how to get Lagares out.
And Markham is on deck. Davis at second, Recker at first. No action in the Mets bullpen, so Markham appears to be okay after taking that shot off his wrist and ready to take the turn at bat if Lagares can keep the inning going. And the first pitch curveball up and away. So early on in his major league career, the book on Lagares says you don't really have to throw him strikes. We'll see how many he sees in this at bat from Wandy. There's a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-1. Lagares 3 for 22 to start his major league career and has already shown off tremendous outfield skills. Both his range and his jumps and his arm all have been very, very impressive.
Well, to me, this seems like the pitch to hit here. Of course, ahead in the count. You'd have to guess that he's going to get a pitch middle of the plate away.
And he does, and he pops it up. Mercer staggering, but stays with it, and that retires the side. Mets leave a pair when we come back. Sabermetrics 101. Professor Burkhardt is ready to go.
Not to burp the heinous chicken I just ate in the press room.
They're bringing back Mr. Wizard. We go to the third inning at Citi Field. Pirates lead the Mets 3-0. Kevin Burkhardt's report will help you enjoy tonight's game better. Brought to you by Time Warner Cable. And what we hope it will do also is to educate you. If you are a casual fan or a very serious baseball fan, you have certainly heard the term sabermetrics and a lot of the terminology held within. And Kevin, why don't you get us started on a primer?
You know, Gary, I think it's something that, especially around, Sandy Alderson's Mets, people have heard the terms before. They've heard the term Moneyball. And look, plenty of fans at home watching know what all this is and are very much into it. But I think there are a lot that have heard the terms and don't. And, when you look at sabermetrics, what is it? It's a different look trying to get an analysis on a player. You're using more analytics. You're using objective views and all kinds of formulas. And we decided to kind of give you a few of those today and tell you what we like and maybe what the Mets and some other teams are using that helps how they kind of check out players. When you look at the couple of big ones, we'll start at the top with WAR. What's that? Wins above replacement. And when you say replacement, you're talking about a AAA type player. So if someone's WAR is 7, the projection is that player gives that team 7 more wins than a AAA player would in that spot. So it's a pretty complex formula, but it's designed to incorporate every area of the game. As out and right, Bird will track this down. There's one away. The one thing about this stat, and all these stats you have to integrate with every other stat that we've known for a long time and use them at your discretion. But the one thing for me about WAR that I don't love is Yes, it takes into account all the aspects of the game: defense, running, advancing on pass balls, everything you can imagine. But last year it was a hot topic with the MVP race. Mike Trout had a WAR of 10.9. Miguel Cabrera was 7.3. I would take Miguel Cabrera to play over Mike Trout. But again, it's all subjective. It's all using it in addition to everything else that you normally use, the scouting and everything else, to judge players. And really what it comes down to is this. Talking to Sandy Alderson today, he said what you're looking at is offensively, you want these numbers to tell you who's going to help you produce runs, and from a pitching standpoint, who's going to help you stop those runs from scoring. You know, Gary, we looked at the first couple, WAR and OPS, which is on base plus slugging. It tells how many your on base percentage, and it adds your slugging in there. I like that one because if you look at it historically, the top 5 hitters are all tremendous hitters if you look at their career OPS. You know, Ted Williams, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Jimmy Fox, all in there. What are some of the numbers you guys like and that you use on a daily basis?
Well, let's start with the at the beginning there. As the ball's hit in the air by Tabata out to center field, and Lagares will get there. Wins above replacement is a very interesting catch-all. What it is, it's a conglomeration of a lot of different stats put into one number to try and judge a player.
Yeah.
The problem is trying to figure out how you weight each stat to find the good formula, and frankly there have been a couple of different formulas that different outlets have used to calculate WAR. They do WAR without defense, they do WAR with defense, which is a lot harder to quantify. So I think that's still a work in progress.
I think it's a work in progress, and also, you know, the thing about it is that the bottom line, and I like what Sandy Alderson said, is that how do you get someone to score runs? How do you get someone to prevent runs? Really, you're trying to value players, how good they are for your team and how they can help your team.
7-pitch inning for Sean Markham. We'll talk lots more about sabermetrics when we come back to Citi Field. Pirates up 3-0 in the third. Markham will lead off for the Mets. We began a discussion last half inning about some sabermetrics terminology for some of you who are very deeply versed in it, and for those of you who just trying to figure out what's what in the sabermetric conversation. Kevin introduced OPS, and the next one on the board was its corollary weighted OBA. OPS simply on base plus slugging. Weighted OBA gives more emphasis to on base and less to slugging, because I think the feeling is in the opinion of those who study these things that on base percentage is the #1 corollary to runs scored, and so it gets more in weighted OBA.
Well, I think that it should be weighted more, but the great thing about OPS, to me, it's on base percentage with some pop. So when you look at the OPS, who are going to be the top there? Pujols and Cabrera from Detroit,
Ryan Braun,
you know, Ryan Braun, who have an all-around game where not only
Markham slugs one down the left field line with foul.
But not only do they get on base, but they also have some power. They walk a lot. All those numbers that you want to see in any of your hitters.
Well, let's go to the next chart on the board. And Kevin, I have to say before you go to the next one, first of all, fantastic handwriting, and second of all, I believe that chalkboard is the same one that Connie Mack used in 1903.
You forgot that I got my lab coat from the Dharma Initiative as well. So that, there's all kinds of things going on right here. The one thing in all this discussion that is interesting, and talking to some different people about this, and people in the industry that use these statistics, is I think when you look at the historical context, you could go back 20 years and look at the numbers of the stats that we're talking about. They're not going to be exactly as reliable as they are today because there's so much data collection today, so much more data collected than there was back then. And when you're looking at these stats, again, talking to Sandy Alderson today, he said, again, you're trying to look at what will get you run production, but also there's a historical sense there. So, for example, here we are, BABIP, which is batting average balls in play, which is really more of a luck statistic. Anytime you put the ball in play, what is the batting average? That could fluctuate greatly year by year. There's a lot of factors there. Sandy said today he doesn't love that one. I think the thing is, guys, when you're looking at these stats, there are a lot of things that can be useful. And I think there are some bigger numbers like OPS and WOBA that tell you a grand picture of guys and what their offensive production is doing. But then you could get really narrow it down. So you go from, say, 1 decimal point to 2 or 3 decimal points, and that's when you go here to ISO, which is a stat that really just gets it down and measures the true power. Now, when you're a general manager of a team and you're looking at free agents, maybe you look at the bigger stats to kind of get that group here. And then when you really want to isolate it down, you get to that number here, and then you also incorporate scouting and everything else. But I think the difference in today's game, you're talking about the grand measure of data that's available. It's so much more immense than it was ever before.
Another long foul by Markham. Well, okay, let's talk about batting average on balls in play, because
I'm glad that Sandy doesn't love that number, because it's one of my least favorite numbers.
Well, it sticks in my craw, and here's why. First of all, it's the way that this particular stat is used. It's used by people to supposedly tell you whether a hitter or a pitcher has been lucky or unlucky. And what it does is it measures everything except home runs and walks and strikeouts, as Marte puts away the fly ball by Markham for the first out. So the implication is that as soon as the ball leaves a pitcher's hand, if the ball is hit within the field of play, that the pitcher has no control over where the ball is hit, whether an out is made or not, and that the hitter has no control over whether an out is made or not. Now, certainly there is luck involved.
Oh, yeah.
When you hit a line drive and a ball is caught, or if you hit an infield dribbler and you get an infield hit out of it. But at the end of the day, the hitter who hits the ball harder most of the time will have a higher batting average on balls in play, and a pitcher who is better at avoiding solid contact will have a lower batting average on balls in play. And to say that those things are inherently lucky really gets my goat.
Well, I think that, I spent an entire career trying to search for that holy grail. And what is that holy grail? 27 outs, 9 innings. Let's say you have a super game, 10 strikeouts. You have 17 more outs you've got to get. What you do as a pitcher your entire career is you try to spend as much time as you can trying to stay out of the middle of the plate, trying to stay out of the sweet area of the bat. If I'm facing a right-handed hitter, I either want to spend a lot of time jamming him inside or off the end of the bat outside. So the result is on my better games, they are spending a lot of time not hitting the ball very hard. So my luck is going to be much better in those games as opposed to the games where I'm finding the center of the bat, I'm not hitting the corners, and those are apt to be those days that I'm going to the showers early. So, I find it a bad number only because it's very important. You spend your whole life trying to stay out of those line drives, and if guys hit the ball square, you're going to have a short day. If they don't, and you can master that art, you'll have a longer day.
Alvarez throws out Tejada for the second out. And the other one you just talked about, Kevin, ISO, I think is useful because it's the flip side of batting average on balls in play. It's simply trying to find out who the guys who have the potential to hit home runs are, and I think that's obviously a very useful tool. Well,
especially, Kevin, if you have a team that is deficient in that area the year before, when you're trying to value guys in the offseason, let's bring some guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. John Buck probably was one of those guys.
You know, and I think, again, more conversation with Sandy today. He spent a lot of time, Gary, with both of us. When you look at certain things, I think there are certain things that are kind of trademarks, too, both offensively and defensively. He said, look, I'm looking at strikeout rate, whether that's a hitter or a pitcher getting the strikeout rate, walk rate. Are guys getting on, or the pitcher walking batters? And then also home runs. Is the offensive player hitting home runs, and is the pitcher yielding home runs? And really the home runs and walks from the pitcher's side. That takes us to number 7 on our board, which will show you after this pitch if we allow from Wandy Rodriguez. This is FIP, Fielding Independent Pitching. Basically what that's trying to do is really narrow it down to who's getting on base. It's heavy emphasis on walks and home runs against the pitcher, and it gives you an ERA type number, but sabermetrics people feel like it's more of a truer ERA. And a lot of people that I spoke with really like this set. I kind of like it too because it takes out certain factors that aren't in there with the ERA. And I think, again, what Sandy talked about, guys, with that, historically, I think it tells a little bit more. If you look at a guy 5-6 years of what that pitcher is with FIP.
Well, I think FIP takes you part of the way, but I think it has some of the inherent problems that BABIP does. Yeah. But I think the next one on your board, Sierra, is basically FIP, but also including the things that a pitcher's trying to do that Ronnie was talking about before. It includes ground ball percentage. It includes infield pop-up percentage. Those are the things, in addition to walks and strikeouts and home runs, that a pitcher can control if he's an effective pitcher, and I think that's why Sierra is a better stat than FIP.
You know, let's try to simplify a few Met fans at home. When you watch Jonathan Neese pitch, he'll have some games because he gives up much more ground balls this year than he ever has. He'll have some games you look up, he'll have 8, 9, 10 hits. You say to yourself, but they all been ground ball hits. But when you really go back and look at them, they're hitting the ball much harder than in the games where he gets those ground balls, but they're to the fielders or the fielders can reach them. So that really tells you a little bit of what can happen in a game if they're centering the baseball, even if it's on the ground or not.
Now, Kevin, you skipped over number 7, which was UZR, or it's number 6, which was UZR, and that's a fielding stat, and this is where we start to get into areas where it's very, very difficult to quantify things.
Yeah, I think it's a good stat. I want to see what Turner does here, though.
Well, he ends the inning on a ground ball to second base, but we will talk about fielding as far as sabermetrics view is concerned, and talk more about this in a moment. 3-0 Pirates after 3. With a very good third, and he'll face the lower third of the Pirates order in the top of the 4th. We've been talking sabermetrics, and Kevin Burkhart's been giving us a primer. And Kevin, we've talked about a lot of different numbers, and I know sometimes they can be confusing with people, but when you talk about trying to figure out who the better player is, you talk about trying to scout from afar and trying to scout up close and figure out who the better player is going to be to sign or to re-sign or to trade for. What are some of the considerations that come into view?
You know, I think, Gary, it's just like anything else. If you're doing a research paper in school and as Ike Davis makes the play one down, would you rather have one source and cite one source? You're going to go down and cite 6, 7 sources. This is just, more resources is what it is. It's more data, more backup to your plan of what you believe, this player is or what this player can do. It's not only predicting, it's not only seeing what this player has done, but predicting the future. Every team uses sabermetrics very heavily, and now most teams also have their own formulas. So not only the stats you can find on all these websites like Fangraphs, Baseball Reference, Baseball Prospectus, great websites, but you're talking about each team has certain formulas that are their own. Kind of like a hedge fund company that won't reveal their sources how they pick stocks. Each team has that, and that's to their advantage, how they go about picking their players. How about this? Talked to a scout today, and I asked the scout, what do you use? Because you always hear scouting versus sabermetrics. Well, they're combined, really, and that's where it's a real help. Scout told me, look, for pitchers, I like whip, I like strikeouts to walks. WAR to me means absolutely nothing. For hitters, I like to separate on-base percentage and slugging percentage, and I still like batting average. That's what the scout told me. So I think there's a lesson there in combining everything, the scouting and all the stats, to really make your judgment.
And of course, there's another word which Sandy Alderson used when having this conversation with us today, and I think it certainly bears remembering that as much statistical analysis as you might do, Sandy used the word intangibles, and those things matter as well, and sometimes they can get lost in the statistical soup.
Well, I think the Society for American Baseball Research, that's where sabermetrics comes from, and baseball abstract with Bill James, who's with the Red Sox, who wrote that in 1977. Got some of that from Baseball Percentage and M. Shaw Cook. He was probably the grandfather. When you look at organizations today, the one that's considered the most scout-oriented, the most people-oriented, and looking at the intangibles, I don't know if they deserve this reputation, but are Brian Sabean, Dick Tidrow, and Bruce Bochy and their crew in San Francisco.
And they only happen to have won 2 of the last 3 World Series. And that doesn't mean that a more sabermetrically inclined approach can work too, because you certainly see that in Boston and you see it in Tampa Bay, and they've had a lot of success over the years. And I think that's the point, is that there's more than one way to go about things and weight the numbers versus the intangibles. David Wright picks that one off before it can hit the dirt and retires Johnny McDonald for the second out.
Well, Johnny McDonald with a little pull shot here. Nice movement by David to get to it and make the play. I was in the office of Joe Madden, and I was having a chuckle with him. I asked him about some certain stats, and he said, listen, everyone has stats. Everyone punches it their own way. I said, give me an example. He said, I'd have to kill you. But he said that he really believes, and he wouldn't tell me exactly how he does it, but he really believes that they are unique in the way that they look at their numbers. He doesn't think anyone else looks at the numbers like they do. Now, whether that's real or not, I don't know.
Well, one thing that Tampa Bay has done over the last few years, they have developed proprietary stats about defense, and they've been very successful in that regard. Now, Kevin had UZR on the board, which is ultimate zone rating, which I think has great limitations, as do most defensive metrics. I think they're getting better, but I think they have a long way to go. But Tampa Bay seems to have cracked the code on defensive metrics.
For example, with Tampa Bay, with their pitchers, Gary, their pitchers will pitch to when they swing to the shift. So they shift over hitters, shift the hitter over. They will have their pitchers hit tight to the left-hand hitter to pull to the shift.
We'll put a bow on the sabermetrics conversation when we come back. David Wright leads off in the bottom of the 4th. Markham seems to have kicked it in gear, but he's down 3-0.
Coach for the last 2 innings, so that's been a different and fun broadcast for me. But I think it's been a good discussion on sabermetrics and, you know, how far the game has come. And sabermetrics has been around a while, but how much data is available and how much is being used by every team in Major League Baseball to get advantages of their own players and players that they hope to acquire. For me, it's about getting an advantage. It's about finding out what makes a player who he is. And it's really about learning more about the player. Anything you can do to back up evidence, for me, is good. I like to use it all. You know, I'm not a 100% saber guy. I never have been. I like to mix it up. If it proves a point for me, that's what I like. You know, there are certain stats that I go with more than others, but I think that's really what it comes down to for everybody. I think it's a feel thing in this, and whatever works here, the more data, the better. And I think that's how a lot of teams are using it, incorporating it now with everything at your disposal. All these stats, all these analytics, and, of course, the human eyes with the scouts. Gary?
Kevin, by the way, will be making an appearance at your local pharmacy this weekend.
I thought he'd at least be rocking the glasses or something with that coat.
I'll say this. Yeah. I think that all these things have become instrumental for organizations building their teams. I think the difficult part now, particularly from our standpoint, is trying to figure out how to incorporate these things in a general discussion of baseball that we have for 3 hours every day. As Wright drills one down the left field line, and he has himself an extra base hit. So David, who banged one off his knee in his last at bat, appears to be better now. Made a nice play in the field, and now has himself a leadoff double, the Mets' third hit.
Well, trying to come inside, and he gets it there. Just great quickness from David with that bat inside, and also the ability to keep it fair. I was watching him run to second. He was running nice and free and easy, so it seems to be over that mishap in the first at bat.
Started to say the challenge is to try and figure out how to incorporate these things into broadcasts without turning off people for whom it's all an alphabet soup.
Yeah, I think you're right, because for the casual baseball fan, you know, they know some of, you know, they know the whip and all those different kind of things, walks and hits, the innings pitched. I think, you know, I think it's our job. I find it's our job to kind of talk about the action on the field and the athletes on the field, and I'll let people smarter than me figure out the numbers.
Lucas Duda flying out to left field his first time up. That's down 3-0 as they bat in the fourth against Wandy Rodriguez, and the curveball in for a strike, 0-2. Well, if nothing else, I hope we educated a tad today and didn't confuse too much.
I'm sure not a lot of people knew BABIP before today, so.
Only about our prior rants about it.
That's right. That's right.
Wanted to do that.
Good news is, guys, with my wand, I'm going to see if I could maybe do a little Harry Potter with XFIP. You know, anything I could do to kind of use this little thingy.
I always think more either Bill Nye the Science Guy or Arturo Toscanini, one or the other.
By the way, they order the small. You know, it's
I see that. You've been working out lately. There is an opening for a remake of Mr. Wizard, I do believe.
Yes, that would work well.
Oh, great job, Kevin.
Off now.
And I have to thank our stage manager, Carrie. She was the only one that could print that beautifully on the blackboard.
Oh, Kevin didn't do the handwriting?
No, he did not.
I knew it wasn't me. Rodriguez with a 1-2, and Duda with a slow ground ball that will advance right to third as Jones makes the play to Rodriguez for the first out. So the Mets get a runner to third with one out for Marlon Byrd to try and drive in. Byrd took a call third strike his first time up. He's already contributed tonight with his arm. Made a tremendous throw from the right field line to third base to gun down Jose Tabata, trying to go first to third on a base hit, which put at least a crimp into what was otherwise an enormous Pirate inning. Popped up on the right side, and easy for Gary Jones, and Wright has to hold at third. So Byrd pops up on the first pitch he sees, and that's the second out. So it's left to Ike Davis. Pirates put on the full shift against Ike his first time up, and he hit it right through the vacated space on the left side for a base hit. Let's see how they play him this time.
You know, they're having some discussions between the bench and Pedro Alvarez, the third baseman for the Pirates, on where he's going to play. Looks like they're keeping him over on that left side.
He can't play too far off the line, otherwise David can just walk down the line and steal home. Got the shortstop McDonald right behind the bag. The other two infielders pulled around. So Davis now 2 for 2 in this series. A long double last night and an opposite field single tonight. Batting right at third and 2 out. And a first pitch curveball outside. And Ike pops it up. Alvarez coming in toward the mound to call. And that retires the side. Mets waste a leadoff double from David Wright. Wandy Rodriguez gets through the inning unscathed. 3-0 Pittsburgh as we go to the 5th. Workings of the Mets starting rotation, plus the impact Dylan G has made on one of the Mets' other starting pitchers on Mets Insider, presented by W.B. Mason, Sunday at 6, only on SNY. Sean Markham had one horrible second inning, gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, but he's had 3 1-2-3 innings in his other 3. Odd night so far for Markham. Top of the batting order for the Pirates, Starling Marte. Drove in one of those runs with a slowly hit grounder to short that Ruben Tejada double clutched on for an infield hit.
This will be a real test here, Gary. Third time around.
Well, Markham trying to do something he has not done yet this year, and that is get through the 5th inning. Went 4 1/3 in his last start, 4 innings in his first start. Marte 1 for 2 on the night. And the first pitch curveball in for a string. Marte, Mercer, and McCutchen. What is it with the M's with these Pirates?
10 of the 25.
Is that right?
Yeah. All M names, even the bullpen. Mark Melanson, 2 M's.
I would like to know what the odds are against that. Right? I mean, it's 25-1 odds that any particular letter would appear in any particular name, right? 10 out of 25. 40% of their players start with the letter M. What a quirk.
I know a couple of years ago, maybe even last year, they had a lot of MCs, and they still have that now with McCutchen and McHenry.
3 in the lineup today.
Yeah, McDonald. But they also had a Daniel McCutchen who was a relief pitcher for them.
2-2 to Marte. You know, we've talked about all those sabermetric measures and intangibles and how to scout. Maybe you just go for the M's.
That's right. They had a pitcher just go on the disabled list, right? James McDonald.
Sure.
Little variation of that theme.
2-2 from Markham, and he hits him. Second batter Markham has hit tonight. Not the way Markham wanted to start the 5th inning.
Well, it's the 8th time he's been hit, and one of the reasons he gets hit so much is that he just won't move. This ball up and in, and he just stays there and takes it off the forearm. You know, you'll take that until you break your forearm.
We talked earlier this season about Juan Pierre and his tendency to stick his elbow in and get hit by pitches, and then he got one right on the point of the elbow that cost him a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Jordy Mercer 1 for 2 at a base hit through the hole into left in that big 2nd inning. And Marte just got back. Talked about Markham and his pickoff move. Almost got him.
Good quick move, quick feet, quick reactions there from Marte. You know, my theory on this is that they let all the hitters wear this equipment when they come up to the plate to protect themselves. Let them wear it on the bases. If you have to wear it at the plate, wear it at the bases. That'll slow you down.
Well, that would be an interesting rule.
Right?
So you're saying if you wear an elbow pad or a shin guard when you bat, you have to run the bases with it.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
You see a lot of guys taking those pads off. Now the theory is that trying to protect your players and keep them on the field. You know, that's why you.
Well, they have cut down on some of the elbow armor. I mean, the thing that Barry Bonds used to wear was like gladiator equipment. Now they have reduced the size of those things.
Marte, the runner on first, asking for time right now. I don't know exactly what he's doing. He wasn't able to get the signs correctly from Nick Leyva.
Rich Sofield, the first base coach, trying to help him out. Marte 2nd in the National League in stolen bases with 10. This time able to get back in standing. So Markham trying to slow down Starling Marte, paying a lot of attention.
Shouldn't really affect a veteran pitcher like Markham, but you always have to watch yourself. Spending a lot of time keeping a runner close. Do you deliver the proper pitch when you do finally go to the plate?
There goes Marte, and Mercer fouls it off. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. So after all those throws over, Marte was running last pitch. But now it's a 2-strike count to Mercer with Andrew McCutcheon waiting on deck. Starling Marte, just 24 years old. He's proved to be a very dynamic player since the Pirates called him up last year. Taking over as the leadoff hitter, off to a flying start. Has some power, has speed. And Markham is certainly quite concerned about Starling Marte.
Marte reminds me a little bit of, although he's more advanced than when Carlos was here with the Mets, of Carlos Gomez. Just tremendous athletes that are learning how to play baseball in the major leagues. Gomez has figured it out finally.
It took Gomez a while, but he has topped the learning curve now. Marte's running again, and Mercer takes one the other way for a base hit. So the Pirates will have runners at first and third and nobody out. Well, you talked last time, Ronnie, about Mercer going the other way with 2 strikes. This time he did.
Well, the thing about Mercer is that he chokes up on the bat, just going to make contact. Marte with all that speed hitting behind the runner. Nice job.
So the table set for the Pirates. Mets are going to get their bullpen going. Markham had thrown a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings in a row, but now third time around the batting order. The Pirates have the first 2 on, and their best hitter McCutchen coming up. McCutchen fly deep to center field in the first, and then with the bases loaded and 2 out, swung at the first pitch he saw and flied out to left to end that long second inning. Now batting here with first and third and nobody out. And he lays off the first pitch. 1-0. McCutchen now just 2 for 16 against Sean Markham.
Well, we talked about it last night. McCutchen is an outstanding fastball hitter. And against Markham, I'm sure he has not seen a lot of fastballs.
Saw one his first time up. He hit it about 400 feet. Pops this one up. Turner, the second baseman, making the call. And that's a very important first out for Sean Markham. So he continues to hold Andrew McCutchen in check. Something most pitchers have had trouble doing the last few years.
And the problem is the hitter behind him has given them the most problems in Garrett Jones.
Jones tonight double to left center and then fly deep to right. 1 for 2. He's now 5 for 12 with a home run against Markham. But he's also a very slow runner, so if Markham can get a ground ball, a good chance for the Mets to turn a double play and get out of the inning. Markham has not been a ground ball producer tonight. He's only gotten 3 of them among his first 13 outs.
Very good there by Markham. Marte really faked down a line as though he was going. Very simply, the veteran just stepped off. That's what you're taught to do.
Wright playing well off the line with the left-hand batter up, giving Marte some more chance to take some liberties. And Jones takes a first pitch curveball that just missed. It's that get me over curveball that didn't get over, and that really changes the whole nature of the at bat.
You know, I think he's still going to see something soft. Change up away. He's going to try to get him to pull the ball on the ground.
Grounded down toward first, a foul ball. We got a couple of curveballs in a row. A ball and a strike to Jones. It would have been an interesting play for Ike had that ball stayed fair. What would he have done with it?
Well, if you got a shot with the score 3-0, I think you have to take a shot because you wouldn't have got the double play. Jones broke his bat. He's going to get a new one.
That gives Markham a chance for a breather. He and Recker will have a conversation. It's been a work in progress for those two tonight, trying to get on the same page. Mets have a couple of pitchers on their staff who like to present as older than they are. Atchison and Markham going with the gray beard. Markham is only 31 years old. Jones hits it deep to right field. Bird going back right near the wall, and it's off the top or out of here. Apparently it's in play. Marte scores. Mercer scores behind him. Jones winds up at third, but I thought that hit the black and was a 3-run homer. What do you think, Ronnie?
Well, I thought the way it caromed off the wall that it hit on the orange, bounced straight up and back.
Let's see. If it hits the black, it's a home run. And it hit the black. That's a home run. And Clint Hurdle's coming out to talk to Joe West, the crew chief. He's going to ask for a video review. It's 5-0 Pittsburgh, but if what we just saw is correct, and if Joe West doesn't pull an Angel Hernandez, it should be 6-0.
Well, I'm with you, Gary. That's certainly the carom came off the wall, hit the top of the wall, and bounced back into play. So Joe West should go, especially since it was down his line, and go in and see a video replay. And all umpires and all of baseball are hoping to get this one right.
Yeah, well, there's not much question when you look at the replay. The ball hits the black.
Yep. And caroms off the top of the wall.
So that is a 3-run homer for Garrett Jones, and the umpires are going to have to go check it, and we're not going to presume what they're going to say based on what happened a couple of nights ago, but certainly appears as though it should be a 3-run homer. And that gives us an opportunity to talk about what happened last night with the umpires in the Houston-Anaheim game, in which Bo Porter made a pitching change for Houston. Mike Scioscia sent up a pinch hitter, and Bo Porter headed to the mound and tried to make another pitching change. Now, the rules, which every manager and every umpire and every broadcaster should know, and every fan probably does know, is that once a relief pitcher comes in the game, he has to face at least one batter before you can make another substitution. Now, the umpires, Fielding Culbreth was the crew chief, initially told Bo Porter, well, you can't do that.
Can't do it.
And Bo argued with the umpires and successfully convinced them to allow him to make that pitching change.
We should get him in front of the Supreme Court. I mean, what a job he did. Now, there's only one caveat. If your pitcher that you brought in suffers an injury warming up, then certainly you can bring a new pitcher in. But that certainly was not the case. And he did not face a batter. Wesley Wright was the left-hander. And Mike Scioscia, of course, came running as fast as he can. And finally put the game under protest. But it was a moot point because the Angels won.
Well, it turned out not to be such a moot point. Now, it's one thing for a manager not to know the rules. And Bo, in his interviews after the game, made it clear he did not know the rule. But it's another thing for the umpires to not know the rules.
Right.
And, you know, this is a rule that's enforced all the time. And as a consequence, Major League Baseball did something today they almost never do. They announced that they have suspended Fielding Culbreth for 2 games. And here come the umpires to make the judgment. And it is a 3-run homer for Garrett Jones. And the Pirates now have a 6-0 lead. So Jones has his 5th home run of the year. And Sean Markham falls further behind. And
really the reason you have that rule in place, it would be a merry-go-round of pitchers if you did not.
Well, it took him just 1 minute and 32 seconds to review that ball hit by Jones, and they get the call right. And the Pirates now have their second 3-run inning of the night and a 6-0 lead as Jose Tabata steps in. But I thought it was very important that Major League Baseball did what they did today and announced that the 3 other umpires would be fined and that the crew chief Fielding Culbreth would be suspended for 2 games. And I think the more accountability umpires have and the more Major League Baseball casts some sunshine on that process, the better for the fans and the better for the perception of the integrity of the game. Fly ball hit to center field, and Lagares is right there. And that's the second out. Now, Angel Hernandez, who made the call on the video review 2 nights ago and got the call wrong, was not fined, not suspended, because in Major League Baseball's view, that was a judgment call. He got it wrong, and they acknowledged that. But there's a difference between a judgment call and an umpire not knowing the rules and not enforcing the rules properly.
Exactly. I mean, you know, the larger question, and we're talking about a small percentage because most of the umpires are incredibly hardworking, trying to get their craft right each and every night. But there's going to be some accountability at some point. If you're not a very good player or you've struggled that year, you might need more seasoning in the minor leagues. That would not be the worst thing that would happen if you had a bad year as an umpire.
Well, there's another piece, too, which is umpire accountability after these things happen in the post game. Now, players, when they give up a home run or make an error, they have to face the media after the game. And for some reason, umpires seem to be able to make up their own rules about whether they want to talk to the media. And in Angel Hernandez's case, he wouldn't allow the reporter to use a tape recorder, and only one pool reporter is allowed in. Why can't the umpire be just as accountable as the player?
Well, it used to be full access to the umpires. Then it came to one pool reporter who will present his quotes that he gets from the umpires to the rest of the writers. I think accountability after games is very important. These guys should be able to, even to defend themselves sometimes when they are right.
Well, sure, to be able to explain exactly what their reasoning was and what they saw. And that was never made more clear than when Jim Joyce blew the call on Armando Galarraga's perfect game. He was accountable, and he was celebrated for it.
Exactly.
And all the umpires should take a lesson from that. And so should the league, and allow them to do that. The strike to Alvarez, and it's 2-2. And in many cases, they only allow the crew chief to be interviewed, even if it's a different umpire on the crew who made the call. And that's not right either. I mean, all these guys are professionals. They get paid well. They are at the top of their craft, and they should be able to conduct a civil interview to explain the calls that they made, whether they're right or wrong.
Yes.
Alvarez had an RBI single back in the second. He's 1 for 2 on the night. And Markham's 3-2 is fouled away.
So Sean Markham has been able to get through unscathed with Andrew McCutchen, but it's been Garrett Jones that has done the damage.
Jones with a double and a 3-run homer. It's been an odd night for Markham. He's had 3 1-2-3 innings, but a 3-run second and a 3-run fifth have been his downfall. And Alvarez smacks one into right field for a base hit. Bird has it on the hop, and Alvarez, who had been a struggling hitter, all of a sudden has come to life in this series back home in New York. 2 hits last night, 2 more hits tonight. And Sean Markham is not going to make it through this 5th inning. Terry Collins is on to make a pitching change. And Markham, for the 3rd straight start, will fail to go 5 innings. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. 6-0 Pittsburgh in the 5th. We'll be right back. Pirates on Mets blog, presented by Verizon, part of the SNY.TV blog network. Let's make a double switch. Andrew Brown will play right field and bat 9th, and the new pitcher is Rob Carson. He'll hit 5th in the order.
Well, Rob's given up 3 in his last 5 appearances. He's given up runs in 3 of those 5, so definitely needs a positive outing here tonight.
It's been a while since Carson's been in the game. Back to last Friday night in Atlanta when he faced just 1 batter. Comes in to face Michael McHenry. So Sean Markham becomes the first starting pitcher in Mets history ever to fail to go 5 innings in each of his first 3 starts as a Met. An ignominious distinction.
And that's not 5 innings last night from Dylan G. 4 2/3 from Markham tonight. I see the middle relief numbers for the Mets. Just
Cold hard facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
Need to say much more than that.
Shallow right field. Brown just into the game, sprinting to the line and makes the catch. That he warmed up before he came in. Had to run hard in a hurry. 3-run homer by Jones makes it 6-0. 2, 7.16, but he's been fortified now with a 6-0 lead, and he's held the Mets at bay on just 3 hits over the first 4 innings. Mets allowed the lower third of the batting order coming up. Recker, Lagares, and Brown in the bottom of the 5th. Anthony Recker making just his 5th start of the year. He broke his bat and dumped a single into center field his first time up, just his 2nd hit of the season. So the Mets with a big hill to climb tonight against an old nemesis in Wandy Rodriguez, who's trying to go to 6-2 lifetime against New York. Did you notice that the Washington Nationals seem to be hitting their stride? They've won 4 straight. They're up 7-2 on the Cubs in the 7th tonight.
Well, I know that Davies said that they're going for it all this year. Decker pulls that one foul. But I don't appreciate that they're playing all their games at home this year, or so it seems. You know, sometimes every time you catch a game on TV, the Nationals are always at home so far.
It's like the Red Sox.
Yeah, the Red Sox
play every game at home. By the way, the Red Sox have John Lester up 1-0 on Toronto in the 7th. Lester's allowed 1 hit. And Recker works the count to 3-1.
It's amazing what John Farrell has meant to John Lester, play Buchholz.
Meant a lot to 2 teams.
Yeah.
Right.
Recker drives one deep down the left field line toward the pole. It's out of here. Anthony Recker with his first home run as a New York Met. And he gets the Mets on the board. It's now 6-1. Now Recker had 1 big league home run coming into this series. He hit it off the guy who started for the Pirates last night. Didn't get to play against Jeff Locke. So instead he hits one off Wandy Rodriguez.
Well, a couple hits now and 2 at-bats for Anthony Recker, and it really shows you how strong this young man is. Fastball supposed to be away, right down the middle, and really just a bam-bam swing as he knocks this ball on the line out of the ballpark.
Recker has hit as many as 16 home runs in a minor league season, and he hit a bullet to get the Mets their first run of the night. Juan Lagares popped up to second base his first at bat. And takes the curveball outside, 1-1. Andrew Brown, who came in on the double switch, is hitting 9th in the order. He'll be next. And Lagares flies one foul, 1-2. Wandy Rodriguez, that's the 7th home run he's given up this season. He had allowed 6 home runs in his last 3 starts.
You know, when I watch Wandy, I always think of him as being more craftier. I wonder if the big lead has kind of taken him out of his game. Lots of fastballs.
Well, you want a guy when he's got a big lead to be more aggressive.
But don't leave your game now, because you can't.
This one's driven down the line by Lagares, and that'll settle in the corner for an extra base hit. So back-to-back extra base hits for the Mets. Recker with a home run. Lagares with his first major league double. And the Mets finally getting some good swings against Wandy Rodriguez.
Well, you like to see that from the young Lagares on a hanging curveball there, staying back, line drive down the left field line.
So now Andrew Brown, his first at bat of the night. Brown started in left field last night, had a walk, a single, and the sacrifice in the 9th that set up the winning run. That's now with 5 hits off Wandy Rodriguez. And Brown takes fastball for a strike. Andrew Brown picked up his first hit as a Met last night. Now Lagares with his first big league double. Look at that. No crooked numbers in 68 innings. Last year, the Mets had a string of 110 straight innings at home without scoring more than 1 run in an inning, and it was the 2nd longest streak in Major League history. Only the 1909 Washington Senators had a longer streak of innings at home without scoring more than 1 run.
What's shocking about it is they had so many crooked numbers on their first homestand.
So that's been evening out a tad. Well, one thing that you can see that's different with the Mets now than it was the first couple of weeks of the season, they're not drawing as many walks. Pitchers are being very aggressive with them, knowing that they're a team that's trying to work pitch counts and trying to get the starters pitch count up, and the walks just haven't been there. Brown just keeps the at-bat alive. Oh, Anthony Recker's got to feel good. He's gotten to play so little over the first 6 weeks of the season. And tonight, even with his team behind, there's something to encourage him. 1-2 to Brown. And it's low and inside. A cutter. 2-2. Here, Trihan to 5th inning recap. Pirates bunched 6 hits to score 3 runs in the second. Got a 3-run homer from Garrett Jones in the 5th to knock out Sean Markham. Anthony Recker's home run, the only Met run. 6-1 in the 5th. 2-2 to Brown with Tejada on deck. And he reaches for that pitch and fouls it off. Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming from Rodriguez to Brown, and he got him with a high fastball. That's the first out of the inning. Only the second strikeout of the night for Wandy Rodriguez.
Well, we've seen this pitch gone to by the pitchers against Brown the last few games. That up and in fastball once they get to 2 strikes.
Now Ruben Tejada. Ruben is fouled out to right and grounded to third. He's 0 for 2 tonight and now 0 for 6 in this series. It's really funny. Ruben's like everybody else on this team. They hit well when they are further down in the order. You put them in the leadoff spot, all of a sudden it goes dry. It's kind of like with Baxter and Valdespin, right? Tejada pops one up in the shallow right, and Mercer goes out to call and catches it down over the shoulder. Second one he's made like that tonight, and that's the second out. When you get guys who are so productive coming off the bench in Baxter and Valdespin, if you put them in the lineup, you don't get the same kind of production.
Yeah, and you think it's going to translate. I think in Baxter's case, I think he's 2 different hitters. When he starts a game or starts in right field or left field, he's a very, very overly patient hitter, and just the opposite when he pinch hits.
Well, he did have the 5-walk game in San Diego last year, setting a record. But you're right, he's up there looking for that first pitch fastball. He did it last night, fouled it off, and then got the pitch to hit to drive in the game-winning run. So now Justin Turner, who has grounded out twice, 0 for 2. Mets are 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight. And the curveball misses for ball 1.
This is a good place to hit for Turner. In front of right, who doubled in his last at bat. You have to think that Rodriguez has to come right after him.
You know, if we put the lab coat on Justin Turner, he'd look like a physics professor.
Exactly.
He wouldn't be talking about WOBA. He'd be talking about quarks and quasars.
I don't know. Hottest movie this winter was what? Lincoln. He could have been an extra in Lincoln, right?
In the stovepipe hat. Lagares at second and 2 out, and Turner fouls off the fastball. It's 2-2. Mets began this inning with a home run from Recker, a double from Lagares, but he's still there now with 2 out. And Turner fouls it away. Well, let's see, John Lester's now through 7, having allowed just 1 hit and no walks.
In Toronto, they can lose games a lot of different ways. Walk-offs, get pounded, lose close games.
See RA's latest quote?
I did not.
He said, "We're playing hard as crud."
Hard as crud.
I never heard that one before.
It's got to be a Tennessee term.
Bounce down to third for Alvarez. And he makes the overhand throw to get Turner. Side retired. But the Mets get on the board. Anthony Recker's second big league home run. His first as a Met. A drive into the seats in left field. The first marker for the Mets against Wandy. It's 6-1 Pittsburgh after 5. Of the day is Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat's office at patcawley.com. By AT NYN, rethink possible. And by USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of current and former military members and their families. John McDonald leads off in the 6th inning for the Pirates, who have a 6-1 lead. McDonald was hit by a pitch in the 2nd, then robbed of a hit as David Wright caught his line drive in the 4th. And Robert Carson moves him back. A ball and a strike. It'll be McDonald, then the pitcher Rodriguez, and Starling Marte for the Pirates in the 6th. Carson came in to get the final out in the 5th after Sean Markham failed to go 5 for his 3rd consecutive start. Markham went 4 2/3, allowed 6 runs and 9 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, 2 hit batsmen, and a home run. And McDonald lifts one to shallow right center. Lagares makes the grab, 1 away. Sean Markham's earned run average after 3 starts and a relief outing is an unsightly 8.59. How much do you think, Ronnie, you can lay Markham's lack of success so far at all the time he missed at the beginning of the season?
Well, I think, you know, you can definitely lay some of it there. Absolutely. And I think because of the need, you can even make the argument he might have rushed back just to get back here. That being said, I think even Sean would tell you that he should be far more advanced by this time than what happened tonight.
So let me ask you this, because you know Zach Wheeler is getting closer, right? He's made 2 really good starts in a row, and you have to figure sometime before the 1st of June he's probably going to be here. Now, the conventional wisdom all along has been that when Wheeler is ready to join the rotation, barring any injury between now and then, that Jeremy Hefner would be the guy to get bumped out of the rotation. But I mean, Hefner's pitched awfully well his last 3 starts, and Markham has not had a good start yet. Now, you're paying Sean Markham $4 million a year this year, so what will happen?
Well, I think that you mentioned the caveat there. I think it'll be an economic decision that I think Markham will get more starts. The other thing that comes into it, Gary, is that even though Markham relieved in that 15-inning game, he's not a guy that you want coming out of the bullpen after having a tender elbow last year and a kind of tough go of it in spring training with some injuries.
Throws out Rodriguez for the second half.
And Hefner's a guy that can go, of course, back and forth in the bullpen to start.
Let's check in the studio. Brian Custer standing by with this game break presented by your Tri-Honda dealer. All right, thanks, Brian. Here's Starling Marte with 2 out and nobody on. I'd also mention, as we're discussing, you know, moves that might be a little bit down the road, Mets have another pitching move or 2 that might happen more imminently, and that's a result of 2 things. One is that Jeurys Familia has some biceps tendonitis, not available tonight. Don't know how long that's going to keep him on the sideline, so that might be an issue the Mets need to look at. And the other is that Frank Francisco is probably going to be with the club by the end of next week. That's the way his rehab schedule is going, and those 2 things might be related. If Familia has to go on the DL, perhaps Francisco will be here that much sooner. And while Frank will not be the closer, he certainly gives you another veteran arm in that bullpen. And if Familia is not injured and Francisco comes back, that means somebody else has to go. And that might be tied with the whole notion of moving Hefner to the bullpen. Will there be room in the bullpen? Line to the left, and Marte has his second hit of the game. So Carson had retired his first 3 batters. He gives up a 2-out single to Marte. But really, when you look up and down this roster, there are very few secure players. Here's one. He's not in danger of going anywhere anytime except to the mound on Sunday afternoon.
Well, things were a lot more secure last year when you were winning at this time, you know.
Sure. I mean, we've talked about it in reference to Ike Davis. I mean, Ike got off to a poor start last year, but one of the reasons why he didn't go down to the minor leagues when he struggled for 2.5 months is because the team was winning. Jordy Mercer is 2 for 3 tonight. Single to left, single to right. He scored a run. Pirates with 6 runs and 10 hits, and Carson picks off Marte to end the inning. Well, he came close to getting picked off in the 5th, and this time it's Carson that gets him. Took one false move the wrong way. Davis with the tag. Marte's out. Inning over. John Neese goes for the Mets. Francisco Liriano makes his Pirates debut. And then Sunday, Matt Harvey pitches for the Mets. And Janmar Gomez goes for the Pirates. David Wright leads off in the home sixth inning. David had a double to left field his last time up against Wandy Rodriguez, who's allowed just a run on 5 hits. And David grounds that one through the hole for a base hit. So Wright has his second hit of the night, and again it leads off an inning. That's about a leadoff hit in each of the last 3 innings now against Wandy Rodriguez.
Well, the wily veteran David Wright, he knows what's going on here. Big lead for Wandy Rodriguez. What's the best pitch he's going to get the hit? That first pitch fastball.
Now Lucas Duda. Pitcher spot is due up next as Scott Atchison gets ready in the bullpen. And Daniel Murphy has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter. Duda's gone 0 for 2 tonight. There's Murph. Duda's fly to left and grounded to first, 0 for 2. Okay, so Sean Markham failed to go 5 innings tonight.
Yeah.
3rd straight time. Nobody's done that before. There you see the walk leaders in the National League, brought to you by Time Warner Cable. Wright and Duda both in the top 5. So tonight for Tampa Bay, Alex Cobb went 4 2/3. He was the first Tampa Bay starter this season not to go 5 innings. They had 34 straight games where their starter had gone 5. Ground ball past the first baseman, but Mercer plays it, and Jones gets back to the bag to cover. Wright gets to second on the play, a 4-3 putout, 1 out.
Well, that's why you have the shift on, and first baseman misses it, gets up because Mercer's playing right there.
Anyway, so Cobb is the first Tampa Bay starter not to go 5, but here's the rest of the story. The reason he didn't go 5, he threw 117 pitches in 4 2/3.
So he must have walked a lot of guys.
The reason he threw 117 pitches, he struck out 13 in 4 2/3. That's 14 outs.
13 out of 14 and left the game.
I've never heard of that before. That's got to be a record, right? I mean, every time you look up, somebody's doing something extraordinary with strikeouts, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher.
Yeah.
How about that?
That was an inning and a third from a Little League complete game. I mean, because that's Little League numbers.
That's just extraordinary. Murphy 0 for 4 last night. Has really been struggling with the bat lately. Last night, 4 at bats and grounded the ball to the first baseman in all 4. Mike Davis on deck. I'm looking at this again just because I'm making sure I got it right. 4 2/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 13 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings for Alex Cobb.
How do you give up runs when you're striking out 13?
Rolled to the second baseman this time by Murph. And that's the second out of the inning, and Wright goes over to third. I mean, really, I can't imagine that any pitcher has ever struck out 13 before in less than 5 innings. It's almost impossible to do. I mean, he was on pace for a 25 strikeout game.
Well, I mean, we know that in this organization, someone struck out the last 10.
Right, that was Seaver against the Padres in his 19th strikeout game. But wow, 13 in the first 5 innings.
He had a big strikeout game against the Yankees, too, about 3 starts ago. So Cobb racking up those strikeout numbers.
By the way, he's also on the hook in that game. Down 3-2 to San Diego. Here's Ike Davis with 2 out and a runner at third. And he grounds another one to the right side. So 3 chances for Mercer in the inning. And the Mets waste another leadoff hit by David Wright. Rough night at the office for the Mets offense. 6-1 Pittsburgh after 6. Play Ball Award. The $5,000 grant was used to replace playing equipment and purchase bases lost after Superstorm Sandy. 200 members of the West Islip Little League are attending tonight's game, and for more, let's check in with Kevin.
Yeah, we've got the West Islip Little Leaguers here, Gary. Jim Alkus is here, the head of the Little League. How the field's looking now after that money?
Our fields are looking really good right now, thanks to all the donations from SMY. The Little Leagues, Connecticut helped out, and all the families and community members.
How are the kids, reaction, of course, when the storm hit? And now you said the Little League is back playing 1,300 strong.
The kids are really playing well. The fields are in good condition, and thanks to all our volunteers, everything's running well.
Jim, appreciate you hanging in. By the way, kids are here, guys. You can see these hats are pretty sweet. You want to show the camera your hat? The West Islip hats, they're pretty fresh. Let's see if we get one for you guys a little later. Let's go back to you, Jim. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Jim. And that's great that those kids are going to be able to be playing ball this spring. Scott Atchison on in relief. Jordy Mercer drives one to right center, and back goes Andrew Brown to get it. And that's the first out in the 7th inning. Now Andrew McCutcheon, happy to see Sean Markham out of the game. Pirates had a nice field day against Markham tonight, except for McCutcheon, who went 0 for 3. And now 2 for 17 against Markham as his dominance continues.
Oh,
There's some of the kids from West Islip.
Kevin's like a rock star. He's a man amongst the people. That's cool.
How many times a day do you think his picture gets tweeted?
Yeah, tweeted, and I was just thinking that, it's apropos because he's got a little guy himself,
Your Coors Light, Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Andrew McCutcheon, 3rd in the MVP balloting last year. Buster Posey ran away with it. Ryan Braun got stymied.
Posey off to a decent start in his career, don't you think, Gary?
Let's see. He's had 3 full seasons in the big leagues. 1 he was hurt. The other 2 he's won the World Series. He's won a Rookie of the Year and an MVP. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. McCutcheon retired for the 4th time tonight. 2 out and nobody on. And now Garrett Jones, who has the biggest blow of this game, a 3-run homer that had to be sustained on video review. Then Mazzaro gets up in the bullpen for the Pirates. Garrett Jones also has a double tonight. 2 for 3. Couple of extra base hits, and he takes one the other way this time for his 3rd extra base hit of the night. Chased down in the corner by Duda. And Jones now with a home run and a pair of doubles. Started the night with 11 extra base hits. He's had 3 more tonight.
Just a fastball away. I don't know if he was going that way. He might have been a little late, but still a laser down the left field line. What a night for Jones.
So a 2-out double for Garrett Jones. Here's Jose Tabata. 1 for 3 tonight. Singled back in the 2nd inning. Pirates got their first 3 runs in that 2nd inning, and it could have been a whole passel more had Tabata not been thrown out trying to go 1st to 3rd on a great throw from right field by Marlon Byrd. As it was, the Pirates had 6 hits and a hit by pitch in that inning and scored just 3 runs. It's been plenty, though, for Wandy Rodriguez, who now has a 6-1 lead. And that fastball dents the inside corner. 2-1. Things have backed up a little bit on Scott Atchison over the last couple of weeks. Got off to a tremendous start. His last outing against the White Sox gave up a run on 3 hits in 2/3 of an inning. This one's hit out to right field. Andrew Brown drifting toward the corner. And that retires the side. A double and 1 left. 7th inning stretch time at Citi Field. 6-1 Pittsburgh. record for most pinch hit RBI. Pinch hitting's been a big topic tonight with the exploits of Mike Baxter this week. Local kid Vin Mazzaro comes on to pitch for the Pirates.
That's right. Rutherford, New Jersey high school. He was with the Kansas City Royals last year, where he had 18 games, 6 of them starts. See his numbers so far for this season.
So Vin Mazzaro, who grew up in the shadow of Giant Stadium, crosses a couple of rivers and comes over to pitch at Citi Field. Anthony Recker leads off in the home 7th inning. It's been a nice night for Recker. A broken bat single in the 2nd, then his 2nd career home run, his first as a Met, in the 5th. Mazzaro runs the fastball inside, ball 1. Now I'm trying to remember, Vin Mazzaro was involved in a memorable game as Recker floats one to the right side and Jones is there to grab it for the first out. Anthony lost his bat in the process. So Recker retired for the first time tonight. It was 2 years ago. He was pitching for Kansas City against Cleveland. And in a relief outing in that game, I think it was in relief. Yeah. Came on in the 3rd inning in long relief, and it was one of the classic soak it up games. In other words, manager says, hey, look, we got nobody else to go to. You have to stay in there no matter what kind of damage you take. Mazzaro wound up pitching 2 1/3 innings in that game and giving up 14 runs, all earned.
On 11 hits.
11 hits and 3 walks.
Wow.
Fly ball hits to left off the bat of Lagares, and on comes Marte. I mean, can you imagine what that does for your ego? 14 runs in 2 1/3, and you got to stay out there and absorb the whole thing.
I don't even know what to say. Remember, I think the last time I saw someone really do that for the Mets was Orlando Hernandez. El Duque was out there, I think, for an 8 or 9 spot, I feel like, in Philadelphia one afternoon. But 14 runs, that's a bad month, Gary, if you were a starting pitcher.
And this was in a relief outing. There's Andrew Brown up for the 2nd time. Struck out his first time up, and yet Mazzaro has survived. He went to Oakland, then to Kansas City, and now getting his first crack with the Pirates at age 26. Weak ground ball down to first, and Jones handles that. Mazzaro covers. 5-pitch inning for Vin Mazzaro as we head on to the 8th. It's been all Pirates tonight, 6-1. Mother's Day when Matt Harvey makes the start against Jean-Marc Gomez. 12:30 coverage Sunday afternoon right here on SNY. You'll find us on Pix 11 tomorrow for the third game of this series. Pedro Alvarez leads off for the Pirates in the 8th inning. 2 for 3 tonight, facing Scott Atchison, who gets the breaking ball over for a strike. So Alvarez, who had 2 hits last night, including a home run, 2 hits tonight. He's driven in a run. He appears to have finally found a good week.
He likes the home cooking here, doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess. Of course, he grew up in Washington Heights, went to Horace Mann, and left town. Ran the Mike Baxter path, going to Nashville to go to school at Vanderbilt.
Where's Horace Mann, Gary? Like, what
Riverdale.
Oh, Riverdale.
Yeah.
Now, is that considered Riverdale's the Bronx, or it's
Riverdale?
It's its own.
It's part of part of the Bronx. It's across the river from Manhattan, but it's Riverdale.
Oh, I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
And then there's within Riverdale, you got Fieldston. And that's not the Bronx. That's Fieldston.
It's big league.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
2-2 to Alvarez. In there. Strike 3 call. First strikeout for Atchison. Let's check in with the studio. Brian Custer has this game break. Cardinals just continue to roll, even though their bullpen has been dreadful. They're 21-12, best record in the National League. Starting pitching's been outstanding. Tonight it's Shelby Miller, who's been very impressive.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be a star, doesn't he?
His line so far tonight: 4 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 7 strikeouts.
Throws 100 miles an hour.
Mike McHenry takes a strike, and it's 0-2. Didn't like that last call. By the way, as John McDonald waits on deck, we have a better breakdown now on Alex Cobb's night for Tampa Bay. Cobb struck out 13 in 4 2/3 innings. And McHenry goes down on a pitch in the dirt. Recker makes the toss for the 2-3 putout. Back-to-back strikeouts for Scott Atchison. So here's how Cobb's night went. In the first inning, he gave up 2 home runs, struck out 2, and got a ground out. Second inning, struck out 3. Third inning, struck out 4.
What?
Well, one of his strikeouts reached first base in a wild pitch, stole second, stole third, and scored on a balk.
For the third run.
Third run. And he's down 3-2 when he leaves the game. Then in the fourth inning, he struck out 2, gave up a couple of hits, got a ground out. And then in the fifth inning, struck out 2, walked a guy, came out of the game. So he had 2 non-strikeouts because he got 14 outs. He got an extra strikeout on the wild pitch, and that was his night.
Wow.
2 home runs and then a balk allowing a run.
I'd have to say that'll be the most unusual line you're going to see by a pitcher.
What a night. John McDonald 0 for 2, and the curveball from Atchison. He tries to hold the swing, and Joe West says he did. 2-1. That's now still 3-2 San Diego, leading Tampa Bay in the 7th. The Rays, for all the great pitching they've gotten this year, are 2 games under 500. Grounded down to third. David Wright makes the running toss, and Ike stretches and comes off the bag. Now puts the tag on McDonald, and he got him. McDonald making the turn after Ike missed the initial tag, and Ike comes back to get him to win the inning. That looked like he might have had him on the initial play, but Joe West didn't give him the call, so Ike got him the second time. That sends us to the bottom of the 8th, 6-1 Pittsburgh. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked who holds the Mets single-season record for most pinch-hit RBIs. And, of course, it's the great Rusty Staub.
I was there for some of that. He was amazing. Just amazing. I saw him pinch hit in the first inning.
Is that right? For Jose Kendo,
Jose
right?
Kendo with the bases loaded and 2 outs.
That's bad.
It broke poor Jose's heart.
He was, what, 19 years old
19,
at the time?
Exactly.
Stroked the other way, and Tejada has his first hit in this series. Just a little flare into right field, and that gets the Mets a leadoff hit for the 4th time in the last 5 innings. Mets have failed to do anything with runners on base tonight. The only run they scored was on an Anthony Recker home run in the 5th inning. The Mets are 0 for 10 with runners on base. Justin Turner's 0 for 3. He's grounded out 3 times tonight. By the way, John Lester still has that 1 hitter intact through 8 against Toronto with no walks. Except Matt Harvey game.
How many punch outs?
Only 3.
Okay.
Not quite a Matt Harvey game. But what would you rather have? John Lester's 3 strikeouts or Alex Cobb's 13 tonight?
3.
Yeah.
Easily.
That's now with 7 hits on the night. And Mazzaro gets a strike, and it's 0-2. David Wright has 2 of the 7 hits. He waits on deck. Another Groundhog Day night for Mike Scioscia. The Angels had a 5-1 lead in the 4th. White Sox now have tied it up 5-5. You know, Scioscia's been the manager there for what, 12 years?
I think he's the dean now of managers.
With all the money that they spend and all the high-priced talent they have on board there, if they're not successful, he could be in trouble.
You know what's interesting about that, Gary, is that when they were successful, one of the best teams in the National League for all those times, Scioscia played the kind of baseball first to third. They ran the bases. They played tremendous defense.
Could be a double play. McDonald with a flip, Mercer with a turn, and dropped at first by Jones. And that keeps the Mets from heading into a double play.
You want to see someone who can get rid of the ball quick? Watch McDonald. Can't get rid of the ball any quicker than that. Mercer's got to make a better throw. Had plenty of time. Well, maybe he did. Just Jones with the plank. Only thing he's done wrong tonight.
So now David Wright with 1 out and 1 on. David is double to left and single to left. 2 for 3 on the night. Has his batting average back over 300 at 309 for the year. David's start to this season hasn't quite been as dynamic as it was last year as Scott Rice gets up in the bullpen. But it has been every bit as good as it was last year. Very consistent since day one. And John Buck's gotten a lot of the attention because of all the home runs he hit early. But David has been right there every day.
You know what I've been impressed with David, watching him every day, Gary, is that, you know, the Mets have gotten off to a slow start. The effort, consistency that he brings to the ballpark every day when a lesser man might hang his head occasionally, he just does not do it.
And a couple of other things, too. One is he might have been tempted in other years to chase more pitches to try and give his team a boost, and he hasn't done that. He's taken his walks, not swung at pitches out of the strike zone that he can't hit. But the other thing is, and we haven't talked much about this at all, he just signed a huge 8-year big money contract. And a lot of guys, after they do that, things become a little more pressurized, and they have trouble handling that.
Yeah, they put a little too much pressure on themselves. They figure that they've got to put up a huge year instead of doing what they've always done for their entire career, and that is get a good pitch to hit, have a good day.
Wright grounds it down to third. Alvarez to second for one. Mercer's relay this time on target, and they turn the 5-4-3 double play. That gets Vin Mazzaro through the eighth. On to the ninth we go. 6-1 Pittsburgh. With a pitcher hit bin, Justin Turner moves from second base to third base. David Wright comes out of the game, and Scott Rice will pitch and bat third. And tells me, Ronnie, maybe Wright's knee is aching a little bit after fouling that ball off back in the first.
You know, aching a little bit, and with a day game, the next tomorrow might be a chance to get some ice on it, but also, you know, get him off the field. Scott Rice on a pace to pitch in a lot of ball games. Seems like he's in there every night. Well, I wouldn't say fluent. My French is pretty good. My Chinese is not that great. So fluent, no.
You are conversant.
I'm conversant. And I also, you know, the only time I speak really Chinese anymore is with my mother. So fluent, I would. But that was very nice of them. It makes me, my street cred is incredible.
Well, that got you street cred, but whatever works for you. It makes you capable of another career working at the UN when you're done here.
Or at least the World Baseball Classic.
Right. Gabby Sanchez pinch hitting for the Pirates. Batting for the pitcher Mazzaro. And there's a good off-speed pitch by Rice. A ball and a strike.
I would say, since I'm on the board, it tells you exactly what kind of game we're involved in here.
I thought that was a very important piece of information for the assemblage to know.
I saw more of a distraction.
Well, they could have put up Kevin in his lab coat. That might have been, you know, more timely. But your language skills,
listen, those
are important too.
I have to tell you, sometimes I have trouble with the Queen's English up here.
We've already gone there tonight with the question about the pronunciation of the big cat back right before we started tonight. Jaguar or Jaguar.
That's right.
We'll be moving on to cheetahs next. Starling Marte on deck, and then Jordy Mercer for the Pirates in the ninth. And Sanchez takes one in the dirt. Gabby Sanchez now a part-time player. He was an everyday player first few years of his career with the Marlins. Jose Contreras up in the Pirates bullpen.
I was wondering if they might leave Mazzaro in. You get that rare 3-inning save, right?
Who was the guy in the game that Texas won 30-3. Who got a 3-inning save.
33 over Baltimore, right?
First game of a doubleheader, I think. Gabby Sanchez draws a leadoff walk. And Starling Marte coming up. By the way, John Lester is pitching in the ninth, working on a one-hit shutout against the Blue Jays, and he has 2 out and nobody on. Quite a pitching performance tonight for a Red Sox team that really needed it.
Yeah.
They had lost 6 of 7 after that great start. Marte has been on base 3 times with 2 singles and been hit by a pitch. He's scored 1, he's driven in 1, and he's been picked off once. And Rice bounces that one. Record knocks it down. 1-0. Sean Markham started for the Mets, went 4 2/3, allowed 6 runs and 9 hits. Rob Carson an inning and a third, no runs, 1 hit. Scott Atchison 2 innings, no runs, 1 hit. And now Rice pitching the ninth. Mets will have Duda, Valdespin, and Davis due up in the bottom of the ninth. And Marte lines one into right field for a base hit. Sanchez pulls in at second, and so the Pirates have the first 2 on in the ninth. 3rd hit of the night for Starling Marte. Let's check in with the studio, see what's coming up on WB Mason Post Game Live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda. All right, guys, here's Jordy Mercer, who's 2 for 4 tonight. So the top 2 guys in the Pittsburgh batting order, Marte and Mercer, on base 6 times out of 9 tonight. That's a nice formula for success. Pirates now with 12 hits in the game. Turner edging in from third, thinking Mercer might be bunting, which would be hard to understand with a 5-run lead. Recker can't handle that one, and the runners will move up. So Rice has been all over the place coming on here in the 9th inning. That wild pitch moves the runners to second and third.
Well, he's got to make an adjustment. He's thrown at least 5 or 6 of these pitches straight in the dirt.
Ball hit the home plate umpire Sam Holbrook in the arm, and so he has to shake that off as Recker goes to the mound to talk to Rice. So 2 in scoring position now for the Pirates. And a 2-0 count to Mercer with McCutchen looming on deck. Jordy Mercer filling in at second base for Neil Walker, the regular Pirates second baseman and cleanup hitter. Walker has a lacerated hand suffered on a play at second base when he got spiked. He is eligible to come off the disabled list Sunday. Played his first rehab game last night. Now Rice behind 3-0.
Gary, the save in that game for the Texas Rangers, Wes Littleton. 3 career saves, 1 in 30-3 games.
I was going to say, was that his first or his last? And that's outside, ball 4. So Rice issues his second walk of the inning, wrapped around a base hit and a wild pitch. And so McCutchen will come to bat with the bases loaded for the second time tonight. So far, it's been a lost night for McCutchen. The Pirates have been able to do it without him. This might be Scott Rice's Vin Mazzaro moment.
There you go. Hang with him.
Nobody behind him in the bullpen. McCutchen is 0 for 4, left the bases loaded in the second, left 2 men on in the 5th. And now he's got the bases loaded again in the 9th with nobody out. And Rice just can't keep the ball from bouncing. Sanchez at third, Marte at second, and Mercer at first with nobody out. John Lester has completed a 1-hit shutout against the Blue Jays tonight. Red Sox win 5-0.
Playing him to right field in the outfield, or shaded to right.
Double play ball to short. Tejada to Valdespin, and on to first as a run comes home. 6-4 3 double play brings in Sanchez. No RBI for McCutchen. And now it's 7-1 Pittsburgh.
Nice job here by Tejada to Valdespin. And how many times are you going to lose a game to Pittsburgh where their best player, Andrew McCutchen, goes 0 for 5 with a double play in his last at bat?
Left 8 runners on base tonight. Well, it's been a big night for Garrett Jones. 2 doubles and a 3-run homer. Took a video review to grant him that 3-run homer in the 5th. And a check swing grounder down to third, and Turner will handle it. And the overhand throw gets Jones. That retires the side. Pirates add a run and lead 7-1 heading to the bottom of the ninth. Tri-State dealers, visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Geico Sports Night, the only show that's only New York sports tonight. Rangers and Caps play the pivotal Game 5 in Washington. Geno Smith's first day of rookie minicamp, and the Knicks and Amara Stoudemire are ready. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame, only on SNY. Gabby Sanchez stays in to play first base in the bottom of the ninth for the Pirates, and the ageless Jose Contreras will pitch.
Well, he had some big years. His last big year was in Chicago in 2005 when he was one of those starters you mentioned the other night, Gary, that went deep into games when they won the World Series.
Especially that league championship series. I think they had 1 relief outing in 5 games. The White Sox en route to the World Series in 05. Here's Lucas Duda leading off the home ninth. And takes a strike for Contreras. Contreras had a long career in Cuba before defecting. Now age 41. And still going.
Still throws pretty hard. 90 plus. Has that amazing split finger.
Danny Valdespin came in the last inning, getting ready for his first at bat of the night.
Oh, it's inside.
2-1 to Duda. Nice job by the Jersey native Vin Mazzaro in relief for the Pirates. Went 2 innings, allowed no runs, 1 hit. And now Contreras trying to finish it off and even up this series. And Duda hits one past the mound. That's the third baseman Alvarez playing over near second. And that's the first out of the inning. That is a 5-3 putout. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Valdespin came into play second base in the top of the inning. First appearance in this series for Jose Valdespin. Hitless in his last 9 at bats. His average down to .231 for the year. So the Mets' string of not scoring more than 1 run in any inning at Citi Field has stretched to 72 as they bear down on that ignominious mark they set last year. It's funny how a team can look so good offensively for a stretch the way the Mets did for the first couple of weeks of the season, and it's been such fits and starts since then.
You know, the one thing, Gary, that I had no idea when I played that has changed since you become a broadcaster, how over the course of a series or a homestand, how good a team or how bad a team can look, or how good or bad a player can look over the course of a small sample.
Valdespin drives one to deep right field. Forget it. That's up in the Pepsi porch. Well, Valdespin continues to excel in games when he does not start. Not a pinch hit home run, but his 3rd home run of the year off the bench. Mets have hit a couple of solo home runs tonight. It's now 7-2.
Well, good swing here, a long home run. And when you're down 7-1, you don't really flip your bat like it's your moment. There's no moment. You're losing. Great hitting. Get around the bases.
Here's Ike Davis, 1 for 3 on the night. So the Mets getting solo home runs tonight from Anthony Recker in the 5th, and now Jordani Valdespin in the 9th. And Davis pops one up into shallow center. On comes McCutchen, and diving is the second baseman Mercer, and neither one can get it. And Davis has a pop fly single.
I'll tell you, Ike will take it. John McDonald comes off that ball. It looked like McCutchen kind of gave up on that ball, and both infielders thought he was going to make the play.
You know, that's McDonald playing in the shift on the right side of the bag. That's a strange angle for a shortstop to be taking to a ball. Sometimes those shifts can be W defensively by having guys take routes that they would not normally have to. So here's Recker, who's had a good offensive night, 2 for 3, including a home run, and tries to hold the swing and held it in time. 1-0. So the Mets now with 9 hits on the night. Ike Davis with his 2nd hit. Contreras has fallen behind 3 straight hitters now. And the Pirates might have to get some further action going in their bullpen. And now 3-0. That's being patient with Contreras, whose control has been contrary so far here in the ninth. A home run, a pop fly single. Now 3-0 to Recker, who absolutely positively will be taking a pitch. 3-1. Record takes low ball 4. All of a sudden the Mets getting some life here in the ninth. They were down 7-1 when the inning began. 7-2 now with a couple of men on. And Juan Lagares will try and keep the line moving. And Ray Searage, the Pirate pitching coach, will show some concern. Well, if you're Clint Hurdle heading into this ninth inning, you do not want to be in a position where you have to use your big guns in the bullpen. He used them both last night, Mark Melanson and Jason Grilli.
Yeah, with a day game the next night. I honestly thought that Mazzaro was pitching so well. No need in a game that was a blowout to waste anyone else, especially a 41-year-old pitcher sitting out there for 9 innings.
And lo and behold, there is Jason Grilli, who took the loss last night. He's been tremendous this year, but he was victimized last night by Mike Baxter's game-winning hit. And so he is up. And still have a long hill to climb here in the ninth. Davis at second, Recker at first, down by 5 runs with 1 out. Juan Lagares is 1 for 3, had his first big league extra base hit in the 5th when he doubled to left. And Lagares takes low. Contreras' game is pitching to the bottom of that strike zone, but right now he's just a little off. Andrew Brown's batting 9th in the order. He's on deck. And a slider in for a strike. 1-1. Remember, as this inning progresses, if the Mets get a couple of more men on and all of a sudden it becomes a closer game, Terry Collins double switched David Wright out of the game at the top of the inning. David's spot is still 4 men away. Now Lagares shoots one into left field. Coming on is Marte to make the catch. Throw back to second, and Davis just gets back. An absolute rope by Lagares, and it stayed up long enough for Marte to sprint in and get it.
Wow, what a play by Marte, and then the throw on the run would have had Davis that had been on the bag. What a special athletic play by Marte.
Well, we talked about it last night. The speed that they have in the outfield in left and center with Marte and McCutchen is as good as anybody's in the game. So now the Mets are down to their final out for Andrew Brown, who was 0 for 2 off the bench tonight, struck out and grounded out. And Contreras misses ball 1. Davis at second and Recker at first with 2 down. That's up a run home here in the 9th on Valdespin's home run. And again, Contreras falls behind. Ruben Tejada waiting on deck. Clint Hurdle trying to maintain a positive outlook.
Trying to laugh to stop from crying.
Well, if Brown gets on, that would create a save situation for Grilli. That was a strike 3-1 because the tying run would be on deck. So I would imagine if Contreras does not retire Brown, we'll see Grilli in the game.
The definition of pitching into a save.
You can't create a save situation for yourself, but you can for your teammate. Now Contreras behind on Brown, 3-1. And Andrew takes a strike, and it's 3-2. So the Mets are down to their final strike of the night. Davis and Recker will be going. Brown trying to keep the Mets going. Hit toward the hole, base hit. Davis around third. He'll come in to score. Andrew Brown with an RBI single. Now it's 7-3.
There's your crooked number, Gary. Good hitting on this little slider up as he pulls it through the hole.
Mets have gone 72 straight innings at home without more than 1 run in an inning. Well, that creates the safe situation for Jason Grilli, so Clint Hurdle will come out and bring in his closer to try and get one skinny out to try and nail it down for the Pirates. Grilli in to face Ruben Tejada. We'll be right back. Seton Hall Pirate turned Pittsburgh Pirate Jason Grilli on to try and get the final out.
I really just have to look at the numbers here. 23 punch outs and 14 in the third inning. Great start to a season by Grilli.
Wrecker at second, Brown at first. Mets have 2 runs home in the ninth. One more base runner and the Mets would get the tying run to the plate. And that's what Ruben Tejada will try to accomplish. Ruben's 1 for 4 tonight, facing Grilli for the first time. 2 on and 2 out. Tejada takes one high. Jose Contreras faced 6 batters, gave him a home run, a single, a walk, and a run-scoring hit, opening the door for Grilli to try and get a 1-out save. And Tejada hops one foul. The ball and a strike. Jason Grilli getting a chance to close this year for the first time in his career at age 36. So far, so good. Traded for Joel Hanrahan.
And Hanrahan did such a great job with him the last couple of seasons. Grilli was Hanrahan's setup man.
Contreras hoping Grilli can bail him out. Ball and a strike to Tejada. Driven to center field, but right at McCutchen, and the ball game is over. And the Mets threaten in the ninth, get a couple, but on the strength of 2 big innings against Sean Markham and Garrett Jones's big night, the Pirates defeat the Mets 7-3 to even up this series at a game apiece.
Well, just not a night for Markham. Didn't get through the 5th again. 9 hits, 6 runs, 2 hit batters. Garrett Jones was the main culprit with a couple doubles, a home run that was disputed, checked on replay and affirmed, and Starling Marte with 3 hits and a fine catch there in the 9th.
There's your Time Warner Cable game summary. Wandy Rodriguez went 6 innings for the win. Anthony Recker and Jordani Valdespin each hit a home run, and the Pirates beat the Mets 7-3. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.